Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, and we chose this one. This is episode 163, Tokyo Drifter from 1966. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by EbbSleep.com. Ebb and their Cool Drift Luxe help you take back control of your sleep. Decades of clinical research show that specific cool temperatures, when applied to the forehead, can slow the racing thoughts that often keep us awake. Shout out to Ebb.
I'm wondering why, well, shout out to Ebb Sleep. I'm wondering why they sponsored this episode instead of the Tokyo Drift episode proper. Because, you know, there's cars in this movie that we will talk about after the break, but it's not like there's really racing.
It's, hey man, they want this slot, they get this slot. That's how it works.
Fair enough. Before we get to extracurricular activities, 2 updates. Number 1, after the break, we will be talking about the aforementioned Tokyo Drifter with Garrett Smith at Philadelphia on Twitter. He's been on the show before.
Yes.
Garrett was on our Hobbs and Shaw Lap 6 episode, I believe. So,
Nice.
8 months ago, maybe? It feels, yeah, forever ago.
Feels forever ago, but it really wasn't that long ago, honestly.
Boy, oh boy. But yes, he'll be joining us after the break. But the other thing, the important, we dropped our first ever, and this is actually a true surprise, our first bonus Patreon episode. So if you are not a patron over at toofast2forever.com, sign up, because we just took the Fast and Furious quiz. I've got some updates. We can talk about that in the mailbag, maybe, because I got the emails coming in. But we took an episode. Because I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I think it turned out pretty fun.
A lot of people that were talking to us, that messaged us, were excited to take the quiz because it was over, and like the episode, it was fun. We were just taking the quiz. I think that was like a nice way to cap that off and, you know, put the doc away and start a new one.
Yes, because this episode we begin our document about the Turbo Charged Prelude, the Too Fast, Too Furious. Then in 6 weeks or whatever, we'll be talking about Too Fast, Too Furious. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
I have been hanging out, made some pizzas, which were delightful. Rachel and I have been watching season 2 of the show called Blown Away on Netflix.
Glass blowing?
Yeah, a glass blowing competition, which, because whenever we were talking about Forged in Fire, Kara was listening to the episode, she messaged us and said, "Oh, you watch Knife Show." And I love that so much, we've adopted that for every show that we watch. So this is just Glass Show, and we were watching Glass Show, and it's fun so far. There was a character that really reminded me of Mike Manzi on it.
Well, when you say character, you mean like a person, because it's a reality show.
In that, let me flip that on you. In a reality show, aren't they just characters? Because at this point, everybody kind of knows they're on a reality show. The glass blowers are a little bit better, I think, than most reality show people, because they're not like built for being reality show people. Like, they don't like want like a lot of attention. They just want to blow glass. Like, the guys that they get are like actually good. It's a different experience. Anyways, it's fun. They make a ton of really dope shit, and it's just fun to watch. Like, it's a competition, but like none of them are really that competitive. They just want to make glass, so it kind of feels nice. It's good for your brain.
There is apparently the new version of Wipeout or something. I think it's on TBS. Is going to be co-hosted by Nicole Byer and John Cena, so it's very appropriate to both reality shows and to the Toretto family. Not Toretto household, but the Toretto family.
Yeah, definitely. John Cena now is part of the family. That's right.
We don't know. I mean, I guess, so there's the family, and then there's the family, right?
But he's like a blood relative of the family. Like, he's as close as you can get, I think.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he might not be in the family, but he's part of the family.
Sure, for sure. For sure. Anything else aside from pizza and Glass Show?
Yeah, that's it. I was watching football, like watching the championship games and watching a bunch of hockey because the Penguins are playing again, so that's always fun to watch. And
cool.
Yeah, just normal stuff.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, watch football. I don't care. Let's go Chiefs, because this episode will come out no matter how you listen to it. It will be out before the Super Bowl, so let's go Chiefs.
I'm with you, and I'm riding with you because, again, something that I was really excited about at the beginning of this year, a kid that I went to high school with that sat in my chemistry class is on the Chiefs playing for the 2nd year in a row, trying to go to the Super Bowl, and the Steelers had picked him up this year and then cut him, and he went back to the Chiefs and is in the Super Bowl again. I think that he's the reason why the Steelers didn't go to the Super Bowl. So shout out Big Stefan Wisniewski, and I want him to get his 3rd Super Bowl ring. He won with the Eagles, and hopefully this will be his 3rd. That'd be really cool.
Wow. Cool. I will say that for our next bonus Patreon episode, which will come out on Super Bowl Sunday, Varsity Blues, there is a actor in that who was signed by the Chiefs. So the Chiefs come up again, but yeah, apparently the actor who played the football player in that movie, I think the running back, was so talented that the Chiefs actually signed him. So
like, did they use the movie as his combine tapes?
I can almost guarantee you no, because the movie, like, I don't want to spoil that movie, but like, it would be hard to have the football make less sense or matter less to the plot than it does in that movie.
That tracks. That's like a lot of these football movies. Like, think like the only one. No, none of them. Not really any of them does the football make any part of the movie happen.
Well, Friday Night Lights, like, there are some that actually matter. Like, that gets football right. This does not. Like, it doesn't even care. It just doesn't care, which is fine. I mean, you know, lean into it, but like, I don't know. We'll talk about it with Brian next weekend.
I'm excited.
I rewatched Parasite. So I had this grand plan, as you can imagine, you know, the way that my brain makes lists and stuff, and I have a bunch of lists of different movies and things, and like, I'm going to go through a bunch of these and not finish these lists because they were very long, and I, you know, have movies to watch for podcasts and this and that and whatever, but like, one list I wanted to tackle was the Letterboxd Top 250. So the movies, as of January 1st, I copied and pasted them, like the movies that are the highest rated on Letterboxd. So as we talked about on the show before, number 1, Parasite. As you can see at the calendar, we are at the end of the month, and I am watching finally the first movie on this list because this month is not shaked out the way that I thought it would be movie-wise. But anyway, I don't know if you know this, that they happened, but
what?
Bong Joon-ho, who made that movie, redid it in black and white. So he had a colorist and a cinematographer, and he, like, the three of them, I think, sat down, went through shot by shot, and made it black and white. And I mean, the movie's still great, but it's still beautiful. Like, it's amazing. He was talking about how there's, like, directors, you know, similar, I guess, maybe in a way to, like, Seijun Suzuki, who made Tokyo Drifter, like, of that era, but, like, there are certain directors who kind of straddle between the black and white era and the color era, and, like, that's a little bit here. But, you know, guys like Akira Kurosawa and stuff, where it's just, like, and Hitchcock, like, they could have made movies in color, but sometimes they did black and white, and so he had that, like, urge to do it, I guess, but he also, and this is really funny, I think, he's like, it was selfish because when I see a black and white movie, I think it's a classic, and so I just wanted to make a classic movie. Like, I wanted a movie that was like, you know, oh, this is a classic, look at it's black and white or whatever, so pretty funny. So I rewatched that, and of course, Parasite is great. Continue to plug away with TV, no real updates to report there. Oh, I finished Ted Lasso, which is great. If you have access to Apple TV Plus, I think I talked about it on here before.
Yeah.
Watch Ted Lasso. It is delightful. There was one other thing that I wanted to share. I'm trying to remember what it is now. I'll think about it. Maybe when we do the mailbag, maybe it'll come up. I don't know, but
that happens.
I had an idea, and then now I don't have the idea. So we have a Patreon page in our show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenin, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato DiDonato, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 level or above. Bonus episode on Patreon. Another one coming next weekend, Super Bowl Sunday. Ooh. I don't know how long. I don't know when this. I don't know. The store's on sale right now. If people want the store stuff, people don't buy stuff. It's just there. Like, it doesn't cost us money. Doesn't really make us money. It's on sale right now. If you listen to this, if you want to buy something,
now's the time to do it.
toofast2forever.shop. Exactly.
Do it when it's on sale. Exactly.
We have an email address, family@cageclub.me. We got a handful of emails. So here, let's talk about the quiz results, because I'm not going to spoil what we got, because that's a Patreon that's exclusive, right? I did memorize the quiz, though, after having, not like trying to, but after doing it and then editing it, I took it again and I got a perfect score. So, like, it is possible to get a perfect score.
Yes, whenever we were, Rachel took it after we did. I'm sure you got the results from it. And so, like, when Rachel took it after we did, when I was, like, reading the answers, it was, like, a day later, and I was like, oh, I know all these answers again, right? Like...
Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think if I could take it right now, I would probably still get 100, but I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to say that Ben Milliman took it and did not pass your score, but he was very, very, very close. He did better than I did.
Nice.
He was very close to yours. And then Haley and Rachel took it, and they both did well, but not, it's brutally difficult.
It's very, very difficult. Rachel had some confidence going in, and I was even beside her, and I would be like, and she was like, okay, and then, like, would change some of the answers. So I think she might have gotten a couple freebies in there, too, to boost that score, so...
But the quiz is available. I think we'll probably make that public at some point. That's also available over the Patreon, but if you're not a patron, you want the link, just, ask. or just pony up $1 a month. Either way.
Yeah.
2 emails from Jerry. So this was weird. So I posted the bonus, not the bonus episode. I posted last week's episode, the Too Fast episode, and then like within an hour or two of that, Jerry had emailed me about that episode. And I was like, oh my god! And so I messaged him, and he's like, oh yeah, I just I'm at work right now, and I saw it posted, so I just started listening. I was like, that's awesome. So here he says, Big Ed 90-Day Fiancé, because remember we were talking about
yes,
the Philippines, right?
Yes.
He says, OMG, yes it was, because I was watching the current season, and then during the commercial I saw Big Ed, and I have tears in it. So yes, that Aurelio, definitely.
Yeah, Big Ed was a great character on 90 Day.
You were right. That is such a hyper-specific guess, but you know the way that 90 Day hits us all, I guess. And you know Jerry, so there you go.
Exactly.
He says, by the way, and this is for me, by the way, thanks for shouting out one of my favorite Giants players, Rich Aurelia. Well, you're welcome. Joe giving me shit about that as a clue. I mean, it's a great clue if you know early 2000s baseball, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and he's a Giants fan too, so that's like even worse. You know what I mean?
Hey man, because of the card game MLB Showdown, which was made by Wizards of the Coast. We talked about this. We talked about like NBA and NFL, like, and I love because of MLB Showdown.
I love that game, and I love the football one too.
With the swiper, yeah. But because of MLB Showdown, the '99 season, which is the 2000 cards. Like, I know the best players in the league in 1999 based on the cards. Like, I have not memorized, because it's not like that, but, like, I spent so much time looking at those and playing with those and, like, drafting them, like, before, like, fantasy drafts were a thing in video games, like, doing it with cards, and, like, I just spent so much time looking at those. So, like, Rich Aurelia, I want to say, like, on base 7, which is not great. He's okay, but he's got, pretty good speed and pretty good cards, so, like, he's there. And then Jerry ends with R.I.P. the Home Run King, Hank. He says Hank Aaron. I just called him Henry Aaron because,
There was a funny story. I was watching Pat McAfee the other day. He was like talking about when Hank Aaron died. He like did like a memorial for Hank Aaron, right? Like, like was like talking about like the gravity of like a giant sports star, dying. And he goes, "I hope we never have to do this again." The whole like rest
that
of the
nobody
staff
else
were like,
ever dies.
"We hope that no one else dies ever again."
Crazy. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. Like that's a stance we can get behind on the show. It's just like we're anti-death. Just I hope no one dies.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that was just like the funny. It was reminding me of that whenever he was talking about it. It sounded like something stupid that would come out of here, so that's what it reminded me of.
Weird. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, we're anti-death on the show. Cool. Glad
right?
we established that.
We hope no one dies again. Yes.
And then Jerry sent another email, blow and go, subject line. Roman, after the best line ever, ejecto cito cuz, says, I'm blow and go, but I'm curious on Brian and Roberto, I presume. Don't remember which is which. Hearing all that. Yeah, blow and go, like blow out the door and I'm good to go or whatever. So, like, I think it's the same thing like when we were talking about. It's like, it's weird enough that if anybody, like, even remotely gave a shit, they'd be like, wait, what does that mean? And then, like, you'd have to play it off, but, like, they just ignore it and move on.
He divulges way too much information there. I agree.
These guys are not good at things, right? They're not good criminals. They're not good cops. They're not good criminals.
They're getting caught. If you're such a bad criminal that you're getting caught by Brian, who is arguably the shittiest cop ever,
sure,
that has to say it, right? Like, that says everything.
Fonzie and Fabio, whatever, he literally, I just read the names that Jerry put in there. I don't remember them already. Yeah. But they're both bad at things. Brian and Roman are not good at things, right? So, like, embarrassing.
Clowns down the line.
We got an email from Jason Dickinson. He says, hope you guys love my podcast. It's doing good so far. Love you. Stay fast or stay furious. Ride or die. And then I saw he messaged this in too.
Yes.
Please give my sister a birthday shout out, Bree. So happy birthday, Bree.
Her birthday's February 3rd, right?
So that is very soon. When is that? That is next Wednesday. So the day after this episode comes out.
Perfect.
Bree's birthday.
Happy birthday to Jason's sister.
And then he's got Sandy, someone named Sandy, a birthday shout out too. So Jason's got a lot of it's not Capricorn. Friends. What's the current sign? I'm sure you know.
Oh, shit. I don't know.
It is currently... Nope, that's not helpful at all. Why would you put... wow, god damn it, Google. Be better. It is currently Aquarius. It is the age...
Of Aquarius.
It
is indeed.
So happy birthday to those people.
I don't know any Aquariuses. My dad's a Pisces, so he's like in a couple weeks. Like he's after.
No, you know a couple. Friend of the show, Melissa Lynham's an Aquarius, and past guest Island Addington,
nice.
Aquarius. They both have the same birthday, Feb 1. So shout out to both of them. Happy birthday to both of them. I know Melissa listens eventually. Yeah. Island, I can almost guarantee you, does not. But shout out to both of them. I don't know. Oh, Nico's an Aquarius. Nico's birthday is early Feb. Feb 4.
Oh, that works. That makes sense. Yeah.
Shout out Nico.
Yeah.
Montez an Aquarius, Feb 11.
Damn, there's a big circle of them. Cool.
Yeah. Happy birthday to all of you. And the last email that we have from Alex Ellen in subject line, "It's not fair, these racists are like 70 and dogs only get to like 15.
Okay.
New listener Monica talked about car guys and tires, so I came running when I saw the bat signal.
Okay. Tell us what your thoughts are.
Mashimoto ZX tires aren't real, likely to avoid any real tire companies from becoming associated and suing for being associated with DVD player jackings.
Makes sense. That's cool.
The tires on Hector's are real Pirellis. I think it was Pirelli, but I remember it being real when I heard it.
Yeah.
But as someone who spent entirely too much time shopping and researching for tires last year, there are plenty of folks who are brand loyal for almost no reason sometimes.
Yep. That's what I was thinking. Yep.
There's a few tiers of tires, and at a certain level it doesn't matter. Also, if no, yeah, like, I don't care. Like, I'm driving a Chevy Cruze. Like, just throw whatever tire on there, right? Like, I don't care, you know.
The only time that I think that you should be, like, tire loyal is if you're driving, like, a race car and are sponsored by them, or have, like, a very exotic car where, like, it came with these tires, I should probably use those. The engineers meant them to, right? Like,
if driving is your thing, or if, like, your car is your thing, then yeah. Otherwise, just get tires.
Exactly. When I got new tires for the car, my dad was like, did you get Michelins? And I was like, no, they were like $100 more. And he was like, oh, well, you should have got the Michelins. And I was like, are you going to give me the $100 difference for the Michelins? And he was like, good point. I was like, okay, cool.
I want to say it was Larson who told me an adage that he had learned from his mom. And I don't remember the specific things, but she was like, it's worth paying for the name brand in like 3 things. So it was like toilet paper, saran wrap, and like something else. Like everything else, it just doesn't matter. But like there's certain things where like if you buy the cheap shit, like you will know. Like you don't want cheap toilet paper. Like that's the worst.
No, that's the worst,
and like
dude.
Cheap saran wrap or Ziploc bags or whatever it was, like all that stuff in the kitchen, like pay the extra $1. Everything else, like, yeah, it's the same. Right? It's all from the same place. It's just a different name on it.
Definitely some tires last longer and stuff like that, but there's tiers of them, right? Like, that's the whole, yeah.
He says, also of note, there's a couple brands of tires that are wildly expensive and terrible quality, a lot of which are catered toward the big truck community, which tend to get weird sizes.
Interesting.
Also worth mentioning, a lot of people are loyal to a particular brand of oil filter, too. Based on my extensive research, it seems the vocal majority of internet car people will literally hang out on forums and websites dedicated to motor oil and its associated products, then buy a filter because it's $2 cheaper than another filter that they just saw was proven significantly superior based on empirical research. It created a weird Venn diagram in my head of people who do research on oil filters and people who buy the cheapest one on the shelf because my expectation doesn't have those overlap at all.
That's really incredible. I get whatever one they sell with the oil change kit, like whatever one's on sale. Because, like, I don't know, like all these, like, AutoZone and all these places, like, they'll always have, like, okay, you get, like, a filter and a, 5 quarts, and it's, like, $25 or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, cool, give me that. And they're like, it comes with this one this month, and I'm like, don't give a fuck. Like, yep, cool, works for me.
Yep.
I'm going to change it. It's good.
In other news, last time I talked to you guys with the watch-along, I was either dying of COVID or food poisoning. I can confirm it was not COVID, just some bad sheets, it seems. Alex. P.S. Heather just called Paul Walker, quote, cardboard with legs, and now I'm blind with rage.
Cardboard with legs is like, I was thinking about it, and when she said it, it reminded me of Sexy Lamppost.
But it's a different thing altogether.
It's like, completely different, I know, but it had the same feel to me, and I was like, oh. We make the argument, when, like, Heather's not here, that Too Fast is definitely the most mailed-in Paul Walker's ever been on one of these movies. Like, there's some times that he doesn't seem like he wants to be there. So, in her defense, maybe this one, yeah, that's what she was seeing this time. Hopefully it gets better.
It can't get worse.
It can't get worse. It cannot.
That's all the email for today. If you want to email family@cageclub.me, we'll read it on the next episode. But Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. There's a couple things, but have you seen anything of note recently?
I found something today that Matt sent us that's adjacent. Chris Bridges, a.k.a. Ludacris, got his car stolen because he left it running while he went to an ATM.
I saw you post this, and you said, was he taking up money to give to the poor people around? Which
was he hacking it?
A great question.
He wasn't. He was going to an ATM, and somebody in Atlanta stole his car and his iPad, and then kept the iPad in the car, and he, like, iPad tracked it to their car, because they switched it, and then Mercedes just tracked his car, and he got everything back. It was like, the internet knows where you are, so yeah, they found everything. They got, like, his duffel bag with, like, whatever else he had, cell phone, whatever, and they were just like, yeah, it's all here.
It is definitely different to be a criminal today than it was 40 years ago. Not that I would know, because I am not, and that sounds like a joke, but I'm not a criminal.
Not a
guys,
cop.
I'm not a criminal. But yeah, it does seem like there's a certain thing where it's just like, why would you even bother trying to steal that thing? Like a nice car, an iPad with GP, like it's just like, yeah, like you know that stuff. I get that like people are maybe
used
not
to steal
right.
cell phones, man. Like imagine stealing a cell phone now. You're like, okay, cool. You just go to your computer and you're like, fuck that guy, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a sense of desperation or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah,
you can't
don't
use it.
steal. Crime doesn't pay.
Crime does pay. Stealing petty things is not nice.
My friends had an idea. They're like, because I was talking about like, you know, like free time or whatever. They're like, you should steal something from every house on your block. And I was like, well. They're like, no, what you should do is you just steal something from every house on your block, but then just switch them.
That's such up my alley. That's right up my alley. Oh my god, yes.
Frank, why the fuck do you have my garbage can? Maybe I'm not gonna.
You
do
just
that,
like move
like
all the lawn gnomes like in the same order onto like the house right next to it, and they're like, did they really steal our lawn? Like we live right next door.
There was a house. This is not the same thing, but there was a house when I was looking to buy a house, and I found this house. There was one that I was looking at, and across the street there was one of those like racist lawn jockeys that was still painted black, and I was like, ooh, like directly across the street. I'm like, oh, I can't own this house. Like I can't. Best case scenario, they're like get out people, where they're like outwardly nice and inwardly racist, right? Like, but that's best case scenario. Like they're still bad people.
It was like one of those like minstrel things, like this. Is that what you're talking about?
Like the holding the lantern out. Yeah,
okay.
Creepy. Any other news that you've seen? Because I have a couple things.
Well, I have one that I was going to steal from you, but go ahead.
So there are rumors, and this is something that Jason has been keeping top on. He's like our ear to the ground, our man in the streets. He sends us the news when he sees it.
Yeah.
F9 might be facing another delay. TBD. Biden seems dedicated to getting people vaccinated, so that seems
for Fast and the Furious, specifically to go see Fast and the Furious. That's
yeah,
what
he's like, I need to see F9 with my wife and with our 2 dogs, and
in a theater. He's like, I love The Rock. I need to go see this movie in theaters. It needs to come out. I've been waiting a year. Yeah. Fuck it.
Hopefully it doesn't. If it does, like I have officially, you know, we have a spreadsheet where I have like the episodes coming up and the guests are on or whatever, and we're at a point right now where I think it's less likely that it'll happen this lap. So like again, we did this lap as a build up to F9. Might not happen. Who knows? But I have 2 different schedules of like what it's going to be if we have it or don't. So we'll see what happens. But I think like I've officially like the master schedule that we have does not have F9 in it anymore. Like I think that's probably more likely to get pushed because like last week maybe, like late last week, which would have been like a week and a half ago as this comes out, there was like a bloodbath and like everything got delayed. Like Universal didn't do anything, but like Disney and Paramount, like a couple other studios were just like, yeah, we're going to move everything back. So
if we haven't heard more buzz about it definitely coming out, that's a bad sign.
Related though, this is now the 1-year anniversary of the trailer, so that's cool.
Oh, happy anniversary trailer.
AMC and Regal both seem like they're going to survive, which is good. AMC raised like $1 billion in capital. They're going to make it through the pandemic.
Well, did they raise $1 billion in capital from
No, it was not
Wall
the Reddit
Street
shit.
bets?
Like I think it might be going up a little bit more because of that, but they raised $1 billion before GameStop or whatever people are calling it.
Yeah.
When AMC was making these deals with Universal, like, hey, give us 2 weekends or 3 weekends or whatever of exclusivity, then you can put it on VOD. Regal at that time was like, these are the wrong deals at the wrong time, you're making bad decisions, this is a bad idea. And then this past week or two, they've been like, so can we have those deals too? So, like, they came around, because, like, it's just kind of what you have to do. So, like, it's good for the consumer. Also, the movie theaters are going to survive. Like, get us movie theaters. Get us vaccinated first.
Yep.
But get us movies in theaters, right? So
exactly. Funko Pop released pictures of their F9 Funkos. I didn't even know that they made Fast and the Furious ones, but they make something for everyone. They made Fast and the Furious ones, and on the Funko, they have Jacob, and he's wearing the cross.
Crazy.
Of Dom's chain, and we were like, holy shit, this is like fucking revolutionary.
The necklace, the chain.
The necklace,
I don't know how he gets
chain.
it.
We were saying that, and then you posted it, and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy, like, this is big news. And then Kevo just comes in, 100% right, and goes, yeah, it's in the trailer.
Really?
Yeah! And I go back and rewatch trailer, Kevo's 100% right. Jacob's wearing it in the trailer.
Where does it end up? Because, like, he uses it to get back Elena, or gets to baby Brian, right? They use that as the tracking device. So, like, I would imagine that the Shaw brothers take it.
In the beginning of the trailer, he has it. He gives it to Letty. Letty gives it to Jack. And then Jacob has it.
Brian, not Jack. Brian.
Brian, sorry. I mixed them. Like, Letty's holding it next to, on the bed when like, Brian's on the bed, and then this happens.
Interesting. That's interesting. But, like, it's weird that he's wearing it, unless that's a real fuck you to Dom.
They're in the same room, and he's wearing it. So, like, there might be two. We know that Letty bought the necklace for Dom, right? Isn't that, like, am I making that up? Is that headcanon, or is that real canon?
He has it in the first movie, right?
Yes, but isn't there like there was something somewhere?
Well, in Fast 5, they're talking like Elena's like, why is it only like a 15 piece of metal or whatever, or $15 piece of metal, right? Like,
yes.
I don't know. Like, I know that it has meaning, but I don't know that we ever know where it came from.
So maybe Dom's dad had two of them and gave them one to each of them.
Maybe
at this part of the movie, Dom isn't wearing it. I don't know. Jacob has a chain on at other parts of the movie, like other parts of the trailer. And then has the cross on it just in one part when, like, he and Dom are, like, standing at the bar or whatever. Or they're, like, at something that looks like a bar. And it's just, like, those two, and they, like, turn and are, like, you know, doing the, like, gun facing each other situation in their faces. And he's wearing it, and it looks like he just, like, added the cross to his chain, which is even stranger. It's not like Dom's chain, because he has a chain on, and it's, like, a diamond chain. And then he has the cross on it, so I don't know what's going on.
Interesting.
And Kevo was like, just like, he totally saw it, and we didn't, because I was like, I don't remember that I saw it for sure, and now you apparently don't remember either, so I don't think we talked about it.
I guess it makes sense that, I mean, Kevo was A, observant, B,
very
watched
observant.
it intently more recently than we did. Like, when we watched it on the tune-up, I was sort of half watching, half listening to their react. You know what I mean? So I wasn't looking for new details, but I guess we might have to do it again. Like, I feel like on the if F9 comes out in May, we were going to have, whenever it comes out, we'll have the hype episode, the like what we're excited for, what we're worried about, whatever. And we can rewatch the trailers and maybe poke through them slowly. But
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how. But there's a lot in that trailer, so it makes sense that we'd miss something like that.
It's a very long trailer.
Yeah, and it's long.
Any other news that you have seen in the last couple of days?
No, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got too. The final thing to do before we take a break and bring in Garrett is the Turbo Charged Minute, the Fast and Furious Minute, breaking down the first minute of the Turbo Charged Prelude, a minute I called, oh shit, it's Brian.
I owe you a 10-second car. I owe you a 10-second car.
So in this minute, there's a 10-second title card that describes what we're about to watch. Brian looks at himself in the mirror and wonders what's become of his life. Police officers get a handout of his mugshot as Brian packs and hangs up his badge. Police officers swarm his house, but it's too late. He's already gone. Brian drives from Los Angeles and stops somewhere west of Phoenix, ready to race.
Yes.
So I have a bunch of trivia about the minute itself, or about the video itself that I will share for now. We have, of course, like, it was cool to have like actual new clothing. You have the cars, which we could talk about. I want to talk about the signs of products things. The one thing I want to point out before we start is the music. I don't know what this song is. And I felt a little bit like you, like I fell down a rabbit hole of like some internet forum that was not about these movies. Maybe it was some kind of car forum. They're like, what's the song in this movie or in this video? And there's an instrumental Busta Rhymes that we are not to yet, but there's no soundtrack listing on IMDb, and none of these internet sleuths could figure out what this was.
Did you
and
Shazam
Siri
it?
Shazam didn't work.
Okay, damn.
But before I talk about what the video, like the short film, is all about, what did you notice? What of note that sticks out to you? Let's talk about the cars first.
Brian's car is a 91 Dodge Stealth that was modified to look like a 3000 GT, which is funny because they are actually the same car.
What does that mean?
One manufacturer made it and they put a different badge on it and sold it as a different car, but it's this exact same chassis, engine, everything. This happens a lot. Do you ever know this?
I think we've talked about this in the Dude, What's My Car game, where we've talked about, like, it's a different engine or different body or whatever, but, like, it's the same otherwise, right?
These were, like, identical cars, just one said Dodge, one said Mitsubishi.
Oh.
Mitsubishi was making them, selling them to Dodge. Dodge is putting Dodge emblems on them, and then selling them here. It's weird. I don't know how this works. I really don't know the background behind it, but, like, it's happened many times before that, like, car companies that aren't related, like, it's not like, you know, two car companies that are under the same umbrella are doing this. Because, like, you know, you have things like the Volkswagen, like the Touareg and the Porsche Cayenne were, like, the same SUV, right? Because, like, Volkswagen owns both, so it makes sense that, like, they were using the same chassis, but, like, the engines were maybe a little bit different. This is like, no, Mitsubishi was making this car. Anyways, they had this whole thing that they wanted Brian to have a 3000 GT, but they used a Dodge Stealth and made it look like a 3000 GT, which is the same car anyways. They just took the Dodge logo off the front of it. Craig Lieberman had, like, a bunch of specs of the car on his Instagram. Cool. But if you click that, there's actually pictures, like, of them shooting it, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's cool to check out. So it's like a little behind-the-scenes thing. I thought that was interesting. All the other cars are linked, but they're, like, pretty normal. Okay, can I talk about the house a little bit?
Yeah. So here, my first question for you is, you have the number is 335, but, like, it looks like it's on the door next to it. Like, is it a duplex? Is his number? Because I wasn't sure if his number is 335.
No, because the door's open. You wouldn't see if they were, like, next to each other, then that door you wouldn't see 335, right?
I was just thinking, like, if it's an L shape and there's the two doors and they go each way.
Oh. No.
I think I'm guessing, we don't know, but, like, 335 is either his house or his, like, it's in the same building.
It's definitely a duplex. There's two mailboxes. I saw that. He's quite possibly 335, but we see 335 for sure. One of the wackiest things, though, is in his bathroom, he has, like, these watercolor-style car pictures, which is cool because, you know, we have Dom's horse picture in his house, right?
Which is, adorable.
Adorable. He has car pictures in his bathroom. Okay, not that weird, but one of them's a station wagon, and I was like, that's very weird.
Well, so do we think, and I think we've talked about this before, do we think that this is a house that he owned, or that he was renting, or that he was, like, living in that was, like, an LAPD kind of house? You know what I mean? Because, like...
No, we talked about this, and my theory and what I stand by is always that this is Brian's actual apartment.
Okay.
And, like, he's decorated this himself. This is, like, where he would go home to. But because he's undercover, he stays at Harry's, because that fits the story better. Like, you know, some of these guys that are undercover have, like, a fake apartment, but, like, their wife and kids still live in, like, a house that's their house. So I think that that's this.
Okay. Fair enough.
Oh, and he has a bunch of, like, trophies around his house, too. It's kind of strange. One of them looks kind of old and has, like, a car on it. I have no proof of this, and I just want to pitch this idea out there. Do you think maybe Mia, from the deleted scene, gave him one of Dom's dad's trophies as a memory of both of them, and he had it?
That would be weird, and that also means that, like, I don't know, like, it's a real deep rabbit hole of, like, what ending is canon. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, yeah, but maybe.
It really looked like a trophy that you would have found in Dom's garage. And Brian doesn't have, like, this dad trophy backstory. So where would he have got this, like, 80s car racing trophy from?
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is essentially like a 6-minute montage. Like, there's a lot going on. Like, I was expecting not a ton, but, like, in the first minute, including the 10 seconds of, like, you know, lead up, like, he gets from his bathroom to the police then show up, and he's in Arizona. Like, you know, it's like, there's a lot that happens in these, like, 50 seconds.
I think I picked out, like, the highlights. Those are my favorite things. There's obviously a ton more in the document.
So there is one thing I will make note of that you have at the police station, because there are a bunch of police officers that I have in the clothing section, because there's Brian's clothing both at home and then in the car and whatever. You mentioned a pink box of donuts. You think there's actually, so this is not about the minute itself, but I watched a documentary in December called The Donut King, which is about this, like, there's a Cambodian, did we talk about this?
You might have. Okay, go ahead, continue though.
I don't know that
it sounds familiar.
So there's apparently like a ton of Cambodian owned donut shops in and around Los Angeles, because this one guy, or there were at one point at least, because this guy came over and kind of, like, started this empire, but then, like, would help other Cambodian families who, like, came to America open up their own donut shop.
Kind of like franchising them?
No, not even really. Like, I think he just kind of helped them get started, and, like, he's just like, this is, like, how you do this thing or whatever.
That's cool.
The reason I bring this up now is because the pink box, for whatever printing reason, like, the boxes that other donut shops were using came as pink, but they would like print white on it or whatever. And so this guy, this Cambodian guy, the Donut King himself, the titular Donut King, was like, oh, if it's cheaper if we use a pink box, we'll use a pink box, we'll just save money. But then like, because he saved the money, because his donuts became like this big thing, like the pink box of donuts is now like
iconic.
Yeah. So, but he literally did it to save money, like to save like a couple pennies per box or whatever. But like, you know, it adds up, right?
Yeah.
So,
and he's smart.
crazy.
That's fucking genius. And once you have the branding down, that's yours, right? Like, yeah. Fucking A. Okay, cool. So it is a pink box of donuts, I'm guessing. And now you told the backstory of it. That's really awesome. You reminded me, we watch a lot of SVU. They always are drinking coffee, and they have these like cups that look like they're like blue and white and very Greek inspired, right? Like Greece inspired. I would watch SVU all the time, but I had never noticed, I never knew that they were real until I moved to New Haven, and there was like some place that was like selling these using the same cups because we're not far. I saw one on the street in front of my house, and I was like, holy fuck, it's the cup from SVU. And then like I realized like, no, you can actually get that coffee cup everywhere in New York, so it makes sense. So
here are some background information about the short film, because I was like, I don't really know, because you're sort of talking with Heather in the last episode, we're like, we did a little bit of research when we talked about this. We did like a bonus episode, lap 2 or lap 3 or something. And I don't remember how deep I went into this. So we knew it was included on the tricked out edition of the first DVD.
Yes.
It came out 3 days before Too Fast. It included like a free ticket, whatever. And then I think eventually it would be packaged with Too Fast, the DVD, on like those DVDs. But like originally it was on the first one, like a special edition, whatever. Here's a short film. Here's where Brian is now, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is that, so I read the IMDb trivia, I read there's not a lot on the IMDb, I'll go into that. Read the wiki, read a bunch of different stuff. In the little box on the right of the wiki where it's just like the date, the year, whatever, it has language, and it just says silent, which is not true.
No.
Also, that's not a language.
No.
There's English in here, I mean, it's a flashback.
Yeah.
But I just like language silent, like that's a goofy thing. There's also on the Fast and Furious wiki about this, there's a note that the characters Slapjack and Orange Julius don't make it a physical appearance in the film, which is like, yeah, neither does like a bunch of people, right? Like, it's just like, you don't have to say who's not here. Like, a bunch of people aren't here, right?
That's a great, see, this is that classic IMDb trivia that Wes can't get into. The hallowed grounds of great trivia about movies.
So as I think we've talked about before, there are 5 actors listed. There's only one in the credits. That's Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor. Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, archive footage uncredited.
Yeah.
Not in this minute, Minka Kelly as Girl, how you can forget that the career-turning girl, uncredited. And then there's these 2 dudes, and I don't know where this came from, but everywhere on the internet, these 2 dudes are mentioned. They're like Rodney Neal and Peter Aylward are also like, it's just like, but like on the IMDb, they're listed. They don't have pictures on the wiki, like the Wikipedia one, on the Fast and Furious wiki. Like, these guys did a thing, I guess, and like got their name attached to this thing, but there's like 9 or 10 or 11 at least officers in this minute alone, plus all the people at the race that are just not involved. And so, like, I don't know if they didn't care. I don't know if I don't know what happened, but there is, like, zero information about who actually is in this other than Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Minka Kelly, and these 2 random-ass dudes.
Follow me on this. I got an idea. We retroactively go back and, like, pretend like we were in the Turbo Charged Prelude. Because who's going to actually check if we were cops in the Turbo Charged Prelude? We make like an IMDb account with no picture, just say that we were in it, and then we get our name attached to it so that people think that we might have been cops.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it would be the ultimate testament that we get added to the IMDb for this, and Wes can't submit his actual valid trivia.
I bet that we would get added to being actors on it before Wes's trivia got
Well,
submitted.
we know his trivia is never going to get added. So, like, if it happens at all, like, yeah, it's before, because Wes ain't going to do anything, right? So
yeah, and he's tried 50 times.
Yeah.
There's, like, likelihood that we could just, like, email them and be like, hey, I was in that movie. Like, send them one of Craig Lieberman's, like, shots of him, like, being on the set and be like, yeah, this is a picture I took. And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, that's definitely them. Cool.
So this was directed by a guy, Philip G. Atwell, who is mostly known, and this actually ties right into what Heather was offering up last time, mostly a music video guy.
Yeah.
He's done like dozens of videos, a lot of Eminem. He did Guilty Conscious, The Real Slim Shady, Stand, Lose Yourself. He then switched over to 50 and did like In the Club and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
He directed 2 episodes of The Shield. The last thing he directed was a film in 2007 called War, which is notable to us because it stars Jet Li and Jason Statham.
Very cool.
25 music videos, then this, then like 8 music videos, then like 2 episodes of The Shield, and then War, and then he's done. So I don't know what happened, but just weird.
Yeah.
He also, and this is of note to me and to our network, served as second unit director, which is just like action scenes generally, or like stuff that like doesn't have necessarily the main actors there, on National Treasure, both of them, and The Sorcerer's Apprentice. So like he's only worked on 3 movies as a second unit director, and all 3 are Nicolas Cage movies. And I don't know what I don't know
like
why.
We talked about that. I feel like we talked about that last time when we were talking about it. We definitely mentioned that.
Very possible. Written by a guy Keith Donnelly, who basically has done nothing. He wrote a movie that has no ratings on IMDb. Not a single person has rated this.
Letterboxd too?
I didn't look at Letterboxd, but I can't imagine, like, I'll look right now, hold on.
Yeah, I'm just curious if no one has seen this.
Like, there's even a poster on IMDb, so, like, I don't know, man. It's weird. He also wrote an 8-minute horror short that came out after this that has, like, 8 ratings, but the changeover, it might not even be listed on Letterboxd, to be honest. I don't see it.
Wow, that's crazy, dude. Okay.
But he's mostly known for being a producer, and he's produced 94 episodes of The Voice. So this guy who wrote this, who has no ties otherwise to Fast and Furious, is now like a multi-millionaire for like basically, you know, helping make The Voice, right? Because it's the most successful, probably one of the most successful shows on TV. So like the guy who wrote this is now like running The Voice. Like he's not an EP, but he's like a consulting producer. Weird career.
Insane. Yeah, very weird.
There are only like 3 or 4 other credits at all on IMDb. One is produced by Neil Moritz, who we know from being a producer on most of these movies, as well as Ferrari Driver in the first one and Swerving Cop in Too Fast. Also produced by Chris Palladino, who produced many of Philip G. Atwell, the director of this, his music videos, but he also did a ludicrous the video for Stand Up, which, the, you know,
nice.
If you move, I move, like that, right?
Yeah.
Phil G. Atwell, like, had never worked with Luda, but this guy went on to work with Luda. So, like, I don't know if, like, they hit it off on the set of... he's not involved with Too Fast.
No.
I don't know. Maybe there's a connection there. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think probably not. I think that we're making a connection.
Probably.
Because it's like music videos and shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's more like that than it is this.
The stunt driver is credited. This guy, Horace Knight, who has like 100 stunt credits, but nothing else in any Fast and Furious movie ever again.
Very strange.
The weirdest credit is that there's an additional editor, Scott Meyer, who's like edited like 25 different things, but there's no actual editor listed. It's just like additional editor. So like, there's like, hey, this other guy did some editing, but like nobody's credited to do like the main editing. I don't know. It's a weird ass thing.
It's very strange.
So like, I was just like, I want to know what this is, and spoiler, I still don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get an answer to it. Maybe
Other
we
than,
could
like,
be
a cash
that.
grab.
That's why. Okay, I wouldn't want to take somebody else's job, like take credit for editing it. But to say that you're like a cop in the movie, you're not a cop in the movie. But I'm not like taking somebody else's cop credit.
Like, right? There are dozens of people in this that have not claimed that they worked on this.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
We could also just say like additional whatever and just claim that. I don't know. Like, there's opportunity here.
There is opportunity.
We could be canonically in the Fast and Furious retroactively.
But actually not because like we're not actually in
No.
it. But,
No.
Yeah.
Not yet. So we're not going to do a trivia question. You and I talked about that before we did the episode. We are going to do the trivia questions again, starting with Too Fast, but these next 6 episodes, no trivia questions, just because none of you have seen this. None of you really care about this. Just this is the completionist and this, and like there's actually kind of more here than I was thinking there was going to be.
Yeah. There's a lot because it's super fast. Like that's like you were talking about. Like it's cut like a music video, so it's like it's all montages and shit.
Yep. So next week we will see what Mr. Arizona does in that Arizona car race. But for now, let us take a break and let us bring in Garrett Smith, and we'll talk about Tokyo Drifter.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 163, Tokyo Drifter. This episode is brought to you by Ebb Sleep. The Cool Drift Lux is a drug-free with no side effects and uses a circulating fluid that flows from the bedside controller through the headband to maintain continuous cooling. Shout out to ebbsleep.com.
Well, shout out to Ebb Sleep, and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. With us now, as we teased before the break, we have from I Like to Movie and Moviejawn, this John, that John, learned that movie from Creed, or learned that word from Creed. Boy, off to a bad start. We have with us, back from Hobbs and Shaw a couple laps ago, Garrett Smith. Hello, Garrett.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. I'm excited to be here. And yeah, apparently the whole world learned about John through Creed.
But like you, as a Philadelphia person, knew about it before.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely, as a white male, if that wasn't entirely clear from the way I sound like I'm hosting a game show whenever I talk. I did not know what that word meant for a long time, but I was hearing it all the time, only to find out, shortly before Creed came out, it means whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything because it means everything. It's just like, this is John, that is John.
Yeah, it's whatever you're talking about.
That's a John, right? So.
And, once we establish what we're talking about, why not?
Well, welcome to our John.
That's
this
right.
is a weird, I like having, we loved having you on the show. I like having repeat guests. We don't have a ton of generally before recently, we didn't have guests on our pit stops, but it was this weird thing where Joe and I were doing the Letterbox game, which we'll play for this at the end of the episode. And we're Cinema 76, this guy writes, I'm like, why do I know that? I'm like, oh, I think that's Garrett's thing. So I dig a little deeper and I'm like, yeah, so this account that we randomly came across for maybe Paris, Texas, I think.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a guy that a past, not that we've had many guests on the show, we probably had 40 different people or whatever, somebody, a colleague of yours, we just randomly found. So oh, let me just see what Garrett's up to. And I'm like, he loves Tokyo Drifter. Let's get him on Tokyo Drifter. So it's fortuitous that whoever your colleague was, whatever the movie was, that John and that John, you're here. So welcome back. We're happy to have you back.
Thank you. I believe that was my buddy Andy, who also writes for Moviejawn these days. I don't remember what movie it was, though, but this was very fortuitous. I'm very excited to be here to talk about Tokyo Drifter, because this is actually a pretty new movie to me. I just watched it this year for the first time, along with a bunch of other movies by this director. So I'm
nice.
actually you got me at the right time, where this movie's very fresh to me. I'm newly in love with this movie. I have all this context for what else this guy was doing and why this movie is so fucking strange and what it is,
So
I'm
weird.
very excited.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
So this is directed by a guy named Seijun Suzuki, who I don't know a lot of. I've only seen this of what he's done, but he also made, I think, his other big movie that I've been meaning to see is a movie called Branded to Kill, which came out the year after this. So from what I understand about this, and Garrett, I'd love more context, because I don't know what, so okay, before we go there, so this movie is about, there's two rival yakuza gangs, I think.
Yes.
I need you guys to confirm every step of the way, because I'm not 100% sure, but there's two rival yakuza gangs, and one guy retires, right? The leader of one is I'm done, I'm hanging it up. Is that right so far?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I can help you a little bit, I've seen a bunch of Yakuza movies in the past, year or two.
Okay.
And, none of them really make sense.
Okay.
They are very much in the tradition of, film noir. The actual mechanics of the plot often don't make sense and maybe aren't even supposed to. All you really need to gather from it is that, gang warfare like this is, really messy. And it's all about loyalties and stuff. So it's you may not understand what's happening, but that's kind of because it doesn't even make sense even if you did understand it. It's a lot of just messy, what would you say, what's the word for that? Betrayals, right? There's just constant betrayals. And Joe, like you said, there's these fracturings that are constantly happening. Often you enter these stories, and what you find out later is that, they all used to be a part of the same gang. They sort of eventually you had two leaders that couldn't both fill the same leader role, so they split off and became their own gangs. And then they each had their own leaders that eventually split off. And by the time you enter the story, you're in this third iteration, and there's 6 of them all circling around each other for the same territory. And it's very confusing.
What made it harder for me, and I'm sure for Joe too, and I would imagine for you when the first time you watched it, I don't know any of these actors.
Yep.
True.
All of their names, they're
one
unique
letter
enough, but then
one
there's also
apart.
There's a Tetsu and a Tatsu.
Yes,
and,
one letter.
I literally watched, and this is not a joke or exaggeration. I watched the first half hour last night, and I don't know what the fuck I just watched, and I rewound it at the beginning, and I watched it entirely back. So this is an 80-minute movie that turned into a 2-hour movie because I was I don't know what I'm watching, and by the time I got to that 30-minute mark again, I was okay, so the guy who retired has a building.
Yeah.
And the building is worth $200 million.
Yeah.
But he owes a guy
yen
200 million yen, whatever. He owes a guy 8 million yen that he's going to pay off, but then this other guy comes in and is I'm assuming the debt, and now he's going to
with force. He assumes the debt with force. He comes in and he's no, it's my debt now. And the dude's no, dude, we're cool. He said he was going to pay me. It's all good. And he's nope, it's my debt now. And then beats up this dude.
And so then he strong-arms his way into oh no, I own the building now.
Right.
Because I know you can't pay the $8 million, and you owe me $8 million, so give me the deed. And it's wait, okay. Eventually, movie, this guy Tetsu, who is our main character here, essentially becomes a ronin of sorts, right? Because he, like, leaves, he is no longer under this guy's tutelage or his work or whatever, and he goes out on his own, and he becomes the Tokyo Drifter. And then there's a part of this movie where, like, it has nothing to do with the building, and he's just going around, like, from small town to small town, just, like, fucking up people who need to get fucked up. And it's like, oh, okay. And then it all kind of comes back together at the end, where, like, he thinks he's getting betrayed, and I'm just like, I don't know. It all looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, too.
Don't know. I don't know.
So this is, in my opinion, like one of the most beautiful movies that I've ever seen, visually speaking.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's got all of these, like, I don't know if it's specifically actually Technicolor, but this very, like, vibrant Technicolor look. There's lots of neon throughout. There's, you know, a lot of, I would say, like, impressionistic use of color throughout the movie, especially as you get into the finale where you're in that club that the woman sings in.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And it's just, it's very beautiful and it's very impressionistic. I'm saying this to say, like, this is why I love this movie, and I do think this movie is kind of best appreciated as a style exercise. And by the way, I'm not even always a fan of the thing that I'm saying right now. I often am frustrated by movies that are style over substance, but I think that this movie really works literally as, like, style as plot. Right? Like, I do not understand. I've seen it twice now in the last, like, 6 months, and I couldn't explain to you in any meaningful way exactly what's happening in this movie. But I understand this movie in some, like, elemental way. The character of the Tokyo Drifter, like, makes sense to me just at, like, face value. He's, like, this kind of young man that is very talented, but has...
killing.
Yes, right. I'm leaving out some of those details because I think, again, it's almost like best understood the more distant you are from it, you know?
Yeah, okay,
so,
fair.
like, even if you pull out from, like, the thing that he's good at is murder, which is very much what he's good at, it's this very talented young man who's never been on his own. He's never been out from under the thumb of this, like, whatever, Tokyo Godfather, like, whatever you want to call him, right? Almost being, like, forced out onto his own, you know? Like, it's almost not even his choice to leave. It's, like, because of all of this other kind of, like, background shit that's happening that he really isn't even involved in and doesn't have a lot of control over. He's kind of, like, forced to leave and go out on his own, and there's literally a line in this movie, it's, like, as cheesy as a soap opera could be, where he says, like, wherever I go, trouble finds me. You know, like, he straight up says that out loud in this movie as he whistles his own theme song to himself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's, like,
amazing.
It's so good, but it's like, I do think the movie is working at that level where it's like, I understand it in that very elemental way, where it's just about, like, a talented young man who's trying to set out on his own for the first time, but, like, can't really, like, get out from under himself and, like, his own, whatever, anxieties, traumas, past. Like, he's just kind of always forced back into this, like, life and world that he's, like, kind of trying to walk away from or even forced out of. I don't even know if what I'm saying makes sense.
No, it does.
What I think is cool is that from what I understand about the actual production of this, like, it kind of, in a way, mirrors the making of this movie, because there's a studio, Nakatsu, who's still around. They're still making movies like Tokyo Tribe. Like, I think, Joe, I told you to watch Tokyo. Did you ever watch Tokyo Tribe, the yakuza hip-hop musical, like, gang warfare musical?
I have not, and I've been meaning to, because
It is
remember when that came out, and I
great.
Would love to see it. Yeah.
They made that, Joe. I think, I don't know if you've seen that, Joe, but
no, you've been mentioning it to me, though. Whenever we watched, like, the Apple, I think you pitched this one to me.
Tokyo Tribe is great. They also made, like, Yakuza Apocalypse. Like, they make these, like, there's not a ton of yak movies anymore, but, like, they're all, like, when they make them, they show up at Fantastic Fest. So I saw both of those there, right? Yeah. Nakatsu had been telling this guy, Suzuki, who made this movie, like, for years, apparently, to, like, make his movies less weird.
Yes.
And he wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And then they're like, okay, cool. Like, here, we're going to slash your budget. And so he's like, okay, I got to figure out a way to tell my story with less money. And so, like, that's why there's literally sets where it's, like, colored backgrounds, like, just lights.
Yeah.
And then, like, a column in the middle of an empty room.
Yep.
And it's like, that's that, because, like, they just didn't have the money.
It looks like a play. It's like it's like if you were watching this, like, at a theater, that's what it looks like. And I was like, the aesthetic of that is actually fucking dope. Like, not knowing that he didn't have the money to make it, I was like, this is a really cool choice anyways. Like, it looks great.
I can give you a little more, like, Nakatsu background, and this is all, like, weird stuff that I just happen to know about because of the writing I've been doing over the years. 5 years ago, Arrow released a box set of these movies that they called Nikatsu Diamond Guys. And so Nikatsu in like, I want to say from like the 50s through the 70s, they just made Yakuza movie after Yakuza movie after Yakuza movie. And they made them for like $10 and they just pumped them out. And this is like, their system is like the way Hollywood's old studio system was. They employ a bunch of actors by contract and a bunch of directors by contract. And it's like, you don't have a whole lot of choice in the matter. You work for Nikatsu, and this year, if you want to make your $40,000 or whatever, you are going to direct these 3 movies that they give you. And you're going to act in these 5 movies in these 5 roles that they've determined for you, because you're like under contract with them.
Okay.
And that's how a lot of these old, like Toho was that way as well. That's how a lot of these old Japanese studios were. All these Nikatsu movies are these Yakuza movies that, frankly, are dumb. They're so dumb. They're all really cheap. They're all really stupid. One of the ones I watched, I think it's literally called like Murder Party or something like that. It's got like a great fun title. It's about like 12 different hitmen, and they each have like their own like really distinctive, highly stylized costume, and like one of them murders you by throwing cards at you from his deck of cards, and one of them just carries like a hammer, and like, you know, they each have like their own signature thing, but it's like, it's played like a like slapstick 40s comedy. It's like, it's so strange. And that's like what ostensibly Suzuki is doing. He's like fulfilling this contract to make these Yakuza movies for this studio that, like, frankly, doesn't care that much about the actual, like, quality of the movie that's being made. They're just trying to make money off of these things. It's like Grindhouse stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can imagine them being, like, furious, like, what are you doing? It's like, well, if you're gonna, like, cut my budget, like, I'm gonna make weird stuff. Like, the Saloon Brawl is just, like, a parody of, like, old westerns. He's just like, I'm gonna do weird shit. They didn't, like, I mean, I think this became some kind of a hit, but, like, they're like, okay, we're gonna slash the budgets even more for the next 2. So that, like, you have to shoot in black and white. And so, like, he just made even weirder shit, like, which includes Branded to Kill, which this movie is more popular on Letterboxd, but I think Branded to Kill is kind of like, is that his big movie, or is this his big movie?
I mean, I think this is his big movie. This is the one that has like a Criterion release, and so I think it's just like widely sort of known and recognized. I think you can see a lot of like influence on Tarantino in this movie. Like, I think that
for sure,
so much.
Yeah, I think that this movie is kind of like a hallmark for a lot of like current American cinema, and so like I think it kind of has a little more recognition. But Branded to Kill, I've also seen that it's a really good movie, and it is like slightly more grounded, and so I think is like, I don't know, depending on how you feel about this, a quote-unquote like better movie, and so I think is probably maybe not more well recognized, but probably as popular in as much as like it's a more like just like moment to moment understandable movie. It's more digestible, I guess is a way to say it.
Yeah,
because like I don't know a ton about, like, I don't want to call it like obscure agents. Like I know some agents and like I know some curse. Like I don't know a ton.
Yeah.
But like I have never heard of a single other movie this guy has made other than these 2.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think I only knew this one because of the podcast, right? Like I knew Branded to Kill from whatever, but like Tokyo Drift, I was like, oh, that feels like Tokyo Drift. Like I don't know, there's no correlation as far as I can tell from like this to Fast and Furious, but like it just feels like this guy who made like 50 movies, and this is much closer to the end of his career than the beginning. He's just doing a lot of stuff, and like I just don't know any of it. So I'm glad that you're able to provide like not the limited context, but like you don't even understand like what's going on sometimes. Like it just what a time to be alive.
Well, I think what is interesting about the kind of history of that studio and then trying to relate it to like his career and stuff is that, like, you're right, this comes at like the end of his career, and this movie is kind of, I mean, he makes like 1 or 2 more movies for them, and they fired him. Like he never finished his contract. He was like fired by this company. This movie is kind of the movie that gets him fired. Like he makes 1 or 2 after this, but it's like, this is, as you said, this is them being like, dude, you have to like fucking rein it in. Like you're not giving us what we want, so we're gonna limit your budget to make you rein it in. And he just gets like even fucking weirder, and they're like, all right, then like you're done, you know? He wanted to make art, but he was under contract for a company that wasn't doing that. You know, they're the Marvel Studios of their time. They're churning out a product. You know, it's like they've got release dates to meet. They're trying to make money off of this product they're making, and he just wasn't interested in that. He made this great movie that I like highly recommend called Gate of Flesh, which is a fucking great title. But it is literally about I mean, for lack of a better term, and I wish I was using a better one, but like a whorehouse that is at the American gate to, like, I think Tokyo following World War II. They literally live in like the remnants of a building that was like suffered a nuclear attack. So it's like this whorehouse that is a formerly nuked building. It's fucking awesome. And that also stars Joe Shishido. Joe Shishido is who stars in the other one, Branded to Kill, and is like a pretty, like, today, like, well-recognized and famous, like, Japanese actor of his time. He's in a ton of stuff. He was in a lot of the Nakatsu stuff. I think he's even in some Toho stuff, and is a really fun actor. Like, he's a good genre actor in these. I think the star of this movie, though, is like an actual pop star that they cast in this movie.
Oh.
I believe if you look in the credits, he's credited as the guy who sings the song.
He does sing the song, and he's, like you said, he's whistling the song. Like, it's this weird kind of surreal where he, like, not that he knows he's in a movie, but, like, he takes the thing that's made for the movie. He's like, I'm just gonna, like, that's my theme song. Like, that's not the movie's theme song, it's my theme song, so.
I really like his performance in this movie because it does really feel like I'm watching a pop star perform in a movie. He's doing this thing where he, like, I don't know, he's, like, cool because he doesn't totally seem to belong. Like, it doesn't seem like he actually kind of belongs in this world, Like, he feels like he's from a different medium in a way that I think, like, is kind of effectual for the movie.
What I love about the whole, like, history, I guess, of Seijun Suzuki is that, like, there are 7 of his movies available to stream on the Criterion channel, including this one, which is where I watch this, but also Branded to Kill and also Gate of Flesh. So, like, I'm going to just keep going because, like, and even better, they're all 79 to 90 minutes.
Yes.
Like, they're all
I
short.
know. We talk about that a lot. Like, because we're coming from Fast and the Furious movies that are pushing like 2.5 hours.
Oh my God,
now.
yeah.
You watch a movie that's an hour and 20 minutes, you're like, whoa!
I love when a movie can pack its story. Like, honestly, I'm always saying, like, 88 minutes is the prime perfect runtime. 88 minutes is exactly the length a movie should be. That's, like, it feels fast, efficient, but also, like, meaty enough that it's, like, a full meal, Yeah. Love a good, tight runtime.
So, Joe, what did you think of this? I know that Garrett loves this movie, and I really like it, but I don't understand it. But what did you think of Tokyo Drifter?
I fucking love this movie. When I watched through the first sequence, the black and white sequence where he sees like the orange toy gun on the ground. Like, once he did that, I was sold. I looked at Rachel, I was like, this is a movie I feel like I have like really good vibes about already. I really enjoyed it. It was wacky and weird, and like, yeah, part of the story like didn't make sense, but I had followed the story pretty well. Like, I wasn't like super confused on the story.
The stuff that gets confusing about this and a lot of noir for me is the way characters talk to each other. You think that the details they're talking about are important, so you start doing that thing where, or this is what I do, I start like trying to file them away in the back of my head,
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
But then you get to like 20 minutes in the movie and you're like, I have 45 files already. Like, what am I supposed to do with all of this? And I think like a lot of noir, I'm starting to learn this the more I watch, those details are not actually important. It's more about like how the characters interact with each other. The details kind of like, they just kind of unfold the way they unfold, and if you just kind of follow along with the more like emotive things that the characters are doing, I think it's a little easier to follow. I don't know if that like tracks for either of you, but I
think this is perfect because I often have this problem with Joey whenever we watch movies that are so visually stunning. I always go back to Only God Forgives, something along those lines that are like hyper saturated and like the cinematography is great, that I get really lost in the story. But because of this one not needing much story, I was like, oh, I'm really in it. And like, I was doing the opposite of what you're doing. Like, you're like registering away facts and I'm just like consumed by what it looks like. So I'm not missing, well, I'm missing everything, but I'm not missing anything. And like, it just feels more direct in that sense.
I genuinely think that is like the intent of this movie, though, right? Like, you're watching this movie the quote-unquote correct way. Not that there's any correct way to write a movie, but it's like, I think that's definitely Suzuki's intent with something like this, where it's like, I just want you to have like this, I don't know, this very like sensual experience is what I would call it,
Yeah, no, it's just like for your eyeballs. Like, this felt like a movie you could definitely watch on drugs, right? Like, 100%. There's like some movies that like you can't, you'd be like, oh, I don't know what the fuck's that. Like, this is just like, no, you could watch a lot of different drugs you could have been taking watching this movie, and you'd have been like, yeah, that was a really fun experience. Would you have gotten everything to happen? No, but like, it would have been fun. And it would have looked great.
I've been having this experience a lot over the last year where I am starting to appreciate certain like style things and the way style can actually kind of convey story in its own way. And I think you referenced Nicholas Winding Refn, and I think he's like a great example of this. I mean, Drive is very much, I think, a movie that's indebted to this movie. It is a lot of just like stylized stylized color choices and a sort of silent protagonist. You know, this guy has that kind of quality about him, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I just have been appreciating these kind of experiential movies lately. I don't know how else to say it. And I think this movie is like one of the more, I don't know, brilliant examples of that I've seen, where I just am like, both times I've watched it, I was totally wrapped up in it. Just like when they have that fucking meeting at the dance club where the dance club is like cleared out and it's just like 4 people sitting in like a pattern across from each other. And it's like the purple ceiling and the red floor. It is so gorgeous. I have no idea what those fucking dudes are talking about. I don't know what the hell that meeting is about. I love watching it, though.
Because to use your metaphor of, like, the file, like, I did have, like, 45 files, and I'm like, but, like, each file has one thing in it, and I'm like, I don't know, what? So I started over, and then I'm like, okay, I got a building file, I got a good guy's file, and I got a bad guy's file.
And that was it?
As I was watching this movie, I'm like, okay, Tetsu, okay, got Tetsu, okay, cool. Tetsu, good, Tetsu, what the fuck? Okay, okay, Tetsu, good, Tatsu, bad, okay. Kurata. Okay, Kurata is the guy who owns the building, so he kind of goes in both these files. But then by the end, like, Kurata's not a good guy anymore. I'm like, oh, boy. But I'm saying names out loud because, like, they're not names I've heard before. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, Kurata's the old guy, but, like, Kurata's only spoken of for the first, like, 15 minutes. And we finally see him. But, like, there's then Mr. Yoshi, who, like, I thought was Kurata at first.
Same,
I'm like,
I did.
What? Okay.
I mean, if you want to fully break your brain in a way that maybe will, like, resolve this problem of filing too many things that I also have, I watched this great series last year that you might be familiar with. They're known as, like, the Yakuza Papers, but they're the battle...
Is it a book?
Well, yeah, there was a book called the Yakuza Papers that they're based on.
I read parts of the book.
Okay, so the first movie is called Battles Without Honor and Humanity.
I'm not sure, but I think we might be covering that. Like, that one caught my eye because I think Sonny Chiba is in the second one.
Yeah.
And there's a song in Kill Bill with that title.
Yes, correct. It's like a 5-film cycle that were made in like 2 years. I think in like the 70s. They're fucking great. They're really, really good. There is no possible way to follow them, like, at all. There are so many fucking characters. They're all in different Yakuza gangs. They're constantly switching sides. It's like, it is unfucking real how, like, dense the layers of family and betrayal are in them.
Do you have to watch the first one to watch the second one, or are you saying, like, it doesn't matter because you can't understand them anyway?
Frankly, probably you could watch them divorced of each other, but they are, like, very much a continuing story. Like, it is like a 5-film cycle that is about basically the rise and fall of the Yakuza in Japan after World War II. It's literally like, we drop a bomb, the bomb decimates their economy to the point that they have to start a black market in order to survive. The black market necessitates that there be these gangs that protect it, and then eventually those gangs go on to sort of like try and usurp more and more power around the city and become a problem themselves. It's like, it's a really interesting, great series of movies that are clearly like a huge influence on everything from like Scorsese to Tarantino, but they are impossible to follow. Like, there is no way to track what's happening in them, and it finally broke me of like, I was like, oh, okay, so this is what, like, noir and this kind of stuff is. I don't know. You just have to swallow that you cannot follow it in that way. You know what I mean?
And it looks like these are all on both Prime and Tubi. So if you want just, like, more, just, they're out there, right? Like, it's not...
Oh, yeah.
It's not, like, what I love about these is that they feel like the way you're describing them, the way that they are and how old they are and whatever, like, it feels like these very easily could be the things that are, like, lost to the sands of time. You have to pay, like, hundreds of dollars for, like, an import, like, a region free or, like, whatever. Like, but the fact that they're been preserved and they've been distributed and they're, like, on these platforms that are, like, relatively easy to access, like, I love that. Like, they're not for everyone, but if you want to watch a 5-movie series, there's apparently, like, a new Battles Without Honor. Like, there's a 3... I don't know.
Yep.
You can do it. Like, I love that, like, this weird slice of, like, film history, at least weird to us, right? Like, it survived.
But it's exactly what you're saying. To us, it is to them, right? This was just, like, schlock that you find in the $5 Walmart bin, right? Like, because they're just cranking them out. So they're just...
It's really wild to, because I have, like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately with film preservation, because, like, I've been watching more and more older movies. I've been watching, quote unquote, like, weirder movies.
Sure.
And, you know, like, a lot of, like, heavy movie nerds these days are into, like, stuff that was shot on video in, like, the 90s.
Yep.
When, like, you know, people were just, like, being able to buy VHS tapes that were blank in a video store, pop them into a camera and make a movie in their backyard. backyard. There's
Yeah.
a ton of stuff that like will very easily be lost to time. That's literally like VHS tapes. That's nothing. A lot of these movies never got released in any meaningful way, but they're like floating around out there and people are trying to preserve them. And on one hand, you're like, why do we need to preserve the backyard movie that somebody made? And on the other hand, it's like, because 50 years from now, somebody's going to look at it and be like, this is a weird, meaningful piece of pop culture. You know what I mean? Like, it happens all the time. And it's worth kind of trying to, like, preserve these things. Because I agree, it's like, these Suzuki movies feel like, quote-unquote, disposable in some way. Because they were. That's what they were intended to be. That's literally what the studio wanted him to make. And instead, he, like, made this kind of piece of art that, I don't know, it's like, it in some ways, it's so deconstructed and so divorced of quote-unquote like just like plot that it does stand the test of time. You know what I mean? Like it actually will continue to make sense for a long time because it
feels very relevant. That's what I was thinking when I was watching. I'm like, you're absolutely right. There's nothing about this that feels overly dated, like just maybe like the look and vibe of it, but like the story doesn't feel dated.
No, and even the look and vibe is so distinctive that I think, you know, the way like fashion kind of goes in and out in these like 20-year cycles or whatever, like there is always going to be a new quote unquote like aesthetic crowd that like discovers these things and is like, holy shit, I can't believe they made this in 19 whatever, you know? And that's only going to become increasingly weird as we drive further and further into the future. That people are still like, wow, this 1970s, you know, Japanese movie made for $10 is just like this kind of like weirdly beautiful piece of art.
God bless cinema preservationists. Like it's a thankless job, but like, you know, it gives us something to talk about.
It's worth doing. Sure. And, you know, Tarantino, I don't know why I keep bringing him up. I'm not even like the world's biggest Tarantino fan, but he's like the greatest remix artist, right? And so it's like the reason to preserve things like this is because like, okay, maybe this movie doesn't make any sense, but the guy that loves this movie and ends up making Kill Bill and is able to incorporate some of these style elements into a movie that does make a little more sense and is a little more palatable to an audience, that's worth it, right? It's like that can exist without this movie already having been made.
Yeah. So
you have to preserve it so that that weird aesthetic nerd can watch it 20 years from now and be inspired to make a quote-unquote like better thing that uses those kind of like style choices or whatever.
And like, you know what we found 2 laps ago when we were doing the classic car movies is that like, you know, when he made Death Proof, he was specifically referencing, you know, a handful of movies that we watched, but like it's more, even if those movies that he loves, like they don't exist, like watching movies of that kind, like if you're not able to watch Vanishing Point, you're not able to watch Two Lane Blacktop or whatever, like if you're able to watch movies like from the 60s and 70s that are like of that style, like at least you can kind of get the sense of like, oh, I get what he's going for.
Yeah.
And like it's cool to see the actual source, like this movie I think specifically, and like how it was black and white before the credits and then color after the credits, just like in Kill Bill. And like when the bride battles like the crazy 88s, like the way that looks is like this, like just even if this movie didn't exist, if you're watching Yakuza movies like of the time, I mean maybe not, maybe this is a specific example, but like you can be like, oh, I see where he's pulling things from. Or like Lady Vengeance and stuff, where it's like, oh, that's the Oren Ishii fight, like exactly, like just extract, like it just it's cool, like whatever you're doing, it's great to have the source materials, but I think even if not, like if you're like, oh, here's some other like random ass Yakuza movies that like we're just of the time, like, oh, okay, like I can see like what he grew up on, what he ingested, and what he like transformed into whatever.
I have been getting more and more into that, the just like film history and watching the medium actually develop, mostly because it's like, I don't know, the longer, the more movies I watch and the longer I sort of, I don't know, live and watch more of the medium, it's like, oh yeah, it's a progression. None of these guys like exist in a vacuum. So it's like, you know, when you're young, I idolize Steven Spielberg and I'm like, wow, what like an amazing director. And in my mind, he's just this like incredible genius that somehow made Jaws. You know, he's not. He exists on this continuum and he exists as a fan of X, Y, and Z, and his movies are influenced by those things that he was a fan of. I don't know. So the longer I'm interested in it, the more I just become interested in those things. Like, you know, the same way like when I was growing up, it's like you find a band you like, and you're like, well, okay, what were they listening to? And then that gives you like 3 more bands that you like. And then you're like, well, what were they listening to? And that gives you like 4 more bands that you like. You know what I mean?
I'm sure that you're the same way, but like the more that I watch, and I watch a stupid, like an unhealthy amount of things, but like a lot of what I watch, like it's not, like, I have friends who are like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm like, that's not even, like, it just, like, it doesn't even register for me. Like, that's just, like, I've watched so much absolute dreck and schlock and shit that, like, you would never sit through that is way worse than that. But, like, the more that I see, it's just, like, it gets lumped into, like, that was okay. I'm never going to think about that again.
Yeah.
But like what you're talking about, Garrett, it's like the two ends of the spectrum. It's like things that I have never seen before, some of which is like the worst stuff I've ever seen, but some of it's just like, I can't believe this was made. And like, just like seeking out those genres and those like niches and those different places and formats and whatever, like it just opens you up to like, I can't believe that someone like made like this shouldn't exist, and it's amazing that it does.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this movie was a huge discovery for me, mostly because it was just like a random recommendation from somebody. I turned it on, not knowing anything about it, and was just like, oh, this is like incredible. It just like really, I don't know, I was like very taken with it. I'm a big fan of for some reason this movie lives in my mind with Blood and Black Lace. Have either of you ever seen that?
No.
I don't even think I've heard of that.
So Blood and Black Lace is a Mario Bava movie that is like a giallo movie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that genre. It's kind of like it's like a proto slasher genre, you know? And it's like a slasher that takes place at like a boutique, like a fashion boutique kind of. But it just is like, has these bright neon colors, and it's just similarly just sort of like very, just a sumptuous, like, I don't know, every frame feels like a painting kind of movie, you know? And I don't know, I've been into that lately, just that kind of like very aesthetic for aesthetic's sake. And I was so excited you guys invited me on, because this movie lives in my brain recently as just like the prime example of that being a successful way to actually tell a story, because I do think there is something going on in this movie. Like, it's not just the aesthetics. There is like something happening here, you know, about, and we could talk about this because I think this is where it relates to the Fast and Furious movies. There's something about like loyalty and whether it even makes sense to ever be loyal to anyone or not. That is kind of running throughout this whole movie that I think is like really interesting.
And they're having him question his own want for loyalty.
Right.
You know, he's traveling around and he's like becomes like kind of his own self, his own lone wolf. But then he runs into like a dude that's like older who now is like his like other sage that's like, hey, why are you being loyal like that? Like,
green jacket guy, right? The guy with the green jacket?
Yeah, the green jacket guy with shooting star.
Yeah.
By the way, when you join the Yakuza in these movies, you get a sweet-ass nickname. Awesome.
It's incredible, yeah. If you ever watch a Yakuza movie, being a Yakuza seems cool as hell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it seems very, very cool.
In, like, American mob movies, I feel like, you know, you can tell that, like, certain members of the mob are so low on the totem pole, they don't actually get a whole lot out of being in the mob. But it seems like being in a Yakuza is, like, you always get a fine-ass suit. You always get money to gamble with. You always have something to drink. You know what I mean?
Tattoos.
Yeah.
Sick tattoos. Yeah. So, but he, like, meets the other guy, and he's, like, now, like, his own, like, hey, like, he wants him to reflect on what loyalty and trust mean to himself.
Yes.
And that's a really interesting thing to think about, right? Like, because he's, like, a young kid, so he's like, no, like, I was brought up, like, you need to be loyal, you need to be trusting. And, like, this guy flipping it on it is something that is still, like, okay to do today. This is like the very timeless part about it, right? Like, you can still relate to that. Like, should you be loyal for being loyal, or, you know, who do you trust? Why do you trust them?
I mean, not to be too political, but in 2020 and 2021, I couldn't watch anything without like thinking about what's happening around me. And this whole movie's thing about loyalty and exactly what Green Jacket guy, shooting star, is trying to instruct the Drifter about is just like, blind loyalty is exactly how you get taken advantage of. Like, blind loyalty is how you will be undermined later. You will be used to accomplish a bunch of goals that then will be your undoing. I don't think I have to be any more specific than that to say how that is related to what's happening in at least America, you know? I do think this movie has something interesting to say about that. I don't know what that means to Suzuki necessarily as like an artist and filmmaker. You know, I think it's an interesting thing to question, especially on the larger continuum of just like Yakuza movies. These movies are always about these, honestly, they're about what like Fast and Furious movies are about. They're about family. They're about these like tight-knit groups that do have like extreme loyalty to themselves. A lot of these movies end up being about characters that have to kill themselves because they were disloyal. It like runs very deep in these movies, this idea of like family and loyalty to one's family and the sort of chosen family that you have when you decide to live a life of crime. And I think that this movie is like basically trying to deconstruct that. And it's deconstructing it so hard that the movie itself is like deconstructed. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just these like shapes and colors and like a guy with a gun. You know, it's like literally that's what he's just, a guy with a gun. That's what the movie just deconstructs it that far. That's who he is. He just drifts around as a man with a gun, and that's all he has and all he is.
He also has the ability to, like, roll out of the way of bullets, which he does over and over in this movie.
And if he knows that he's exactly 10 yards away, he knows he always will make the shot.
Yeah, and by the way, like, 10 yards is so important. He has to figure, but, like, somehow his brain is also able to calculate 10 yards.
Yes.
There's always these, like, markers in the world that he's like, well, that's 15 yards away. So obviously I will be 10 yards away when I am 5 yards closer to that.
Yeah, this was the other part of this. So, like, the movie's beautiful, and there's, like, all kinds of stuff, and then, like, sometimes there's very serious parts. The plot's kind of convoluted, but then they'll have something like, why in this film are there 2 references to the brand of hairdryer that people are using?
Dude, I thought about that too. I have no idea. Like, part of me thinks, like, that's another Nakatsu thing, that's, like, some sort of advertising deal they had, and they had to put a fucking, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because one of the guys, like, did you think I was too old to use this? Like, no, like, it's just like, no, like, anybody can use, oh, man, yeah.
A Charm Girl hairdryer? You have a Charm Girl? And then there's, like, a poster for a Charm Girl, and then, like, yeah, it felt like, it was, like super product placement, right? Like, it was just, like, so in your face, slapped in the middle, like, stamped in the middle of this movie.
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck?
That kind of feels like the thing where, like, Nakatsu was probably like, okay, we need you to mention this 3 times. He's like, I don't want to, but, like, if you want, like, this is what we're going to do.
Yes.
It feels like an act of rebellion. It's just like,
yeah,
you want product placement? Here's how it's going to be. Like, it just, you know, essentially like the only thing you go further is like a Ren and Stimpy-esque, like, just commercial for log at the top of your movie. Like, here, like, buy a hairdryer. Like, happy now. It's like, no, that's not what we wanted.
Yeah.
Like,
By the way, speaking of slapped, you said that stuff was slapped on. My other favorite thing about this movie is that dudes slap the ever-loving shit out of each other in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, constantly. Like, anytime they need to settle anything, they just fucking slap each other. And, like, so hard. Guys go flying in this movie when they get hit.
It reminds me of Charlie Murphy when he's like, no, there has to be a duel afterwards. Like, you don't just slap a man like that.
The first, like, 3 times it happened, I was like, wow, wild. And then by the end of the movie, it's like, there are straight up slap fights. You know what I mean? It's like, it is full on just everybody is slapping everybody.
The part where, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. So, they're in, like, the north. They send, like, the 2 Tokyo guys to go get our main guy, Phoenix.
Yeah,
Phoenix.
yeah, right.
Tetsu, yeah.
Tetsu. Yeah, I didn't know which one's Tatsu and which one's Tetsu.
Tatsu's the bad guy, Tetsu's the good guy, obviously.
Obviously. So they send the 2 guys to go get him, right? And meanwhile, they're in a yakuza war of their own in the North Country, or wherever the fuck he is, right?
Yes.
So they're running, and they all show up with samurai swords. And I was like, okay, didn't feel like it was that kind of movie, but sure. And then so they're, like, having this, like, giant samurai sword fight in the middle of this thing. The bad guy walks up, shoots one, and goes, stupid Hicks. And just like, what the fuck? Like, he's like the only one with a gun in that scene and just, like, shoots one. It's like, why are you playing with swords? Stop.
So here's another, like, weird, funny Nakatsu thing, and it's like, again, I don't even know if I'm just, like, creating this context myself from, like, the few little things I've seen, but, like, the couple other Nakatsu movies I saw, they have these big brawls in them. I don't know how to describe it, but they're chaos. They're not filmed in any particular way. They just, like, set a camera down, tell 100 extras to run at each other, and just, like, throw any piece of the set you can find, throw it at each other. Like, just smash it over each other. And they're horrible. They look like nothing. They always take place in, like, train yards. Like, this movie has a bunch of train yards in it. They're in Nakatsu movies all the time. I guarantee that's just outside the studio. You know what I mean? Like, wherever the sets are, right outside is a train yard. Every movie gets filmed there for outdoor stuff. I really feel like he is literally, like, insulting the studio that is giving him money with all of that stuff. Like, he's like, you guys always do these dumb fucking shit brawls. I'm gonna have these guys show up for the dumb fucking shit brawl with all the dumb fucking shit brawl stuff, like the swords that you want them all to have, in my movie that takes place now with guns, and so I'll just have him Indiana Jones him. Like, I'm just gonna have him shoot, you know, like, I'm just gonna insult what your movies are through that shot. I may be reading way too much into that, but I do feel like that's, like, a little bit what's going on.
It tracks, brother. I'm with you.
Well, I also love that, like, there's the burlesque dancer, like, the woman who's, like, a huge badass. Like, she, like, knees, like, 4 dudes in the face, like, at the start of that brawl. Like, everybody's a fighter. It's like, why? What? Why?
Also, there's just, like, a bunch of random white people in this movie, too. Like, I get that there's, like, soldiers and stuff, but, like, I was just like, oh, shit, yeah, like, where the fuck did these people come from? Like,
that that brawl in particular, I think, has a lot of the really good comedy in the movie, especially that dancer in the background that, like, the camera is not even focused on her and she is just doing choreography on these guys.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And like, even a little bit feels to me like that woman just need a guy in the face. You know what I mean? Like, the camera was on, she knew no one was stopping her. She's just going to take her opportunity to just fucking deck one of these dudes.
It's beautiful. And I like these elements that they cut in this, minus the hair dryers, but like the elements of humor that they cut in here when they march all the guys in that scene into a line and like the girls just like line them up and then all bonk them on the head. I was like, where the fuck did that come from? It's so zany. Like, how do you combine these two elements and make something that is still beautiful?
It is such a weird thing. And again, it's like, it's all coming from this like Nikatsu shit. Like, that's very much what they wanted him to make. And so it's like you can feel the movie that he still has to be making inside of this movie, but it's the most he kind of like breaks down those walls.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I think Tetsu's meeting with maybe Kurata, maybe Mr. Yoshi, I don't remember, but he's like, oh, there's no woman around, I don't know what to do. And he like brings out this tray of food, but the tray of food is like 3 whole apples, a whole orange, celery that hasn't been cleaned or cut, and then like
Scotch.
A bowl for like him to drink out of. It's like, it's not even a glass, he just brings a bowl. It's like, this guy is like the most incompetent buffoon of like a host ever.
Yeah.
And then, like, later, and it's not as funny, like, that, I just cracked up at that, but then later, Tetsu gets shot in the arm, like, there's, like, it's him against a warehouse full of dudes, and he gets shot, and then he just, like, walks away, and he's, like, again, whistling his theme song or whatever, and then the guy's just like, how dare he sing? It's just like, well, just don't get mad at it, like, just, I don't know, like, it's just, like, these weird little asides that I'm like, this is so funny in a movie that, like, you're just, like, clawing at like whatever you can like grab onto. I'm like, it's very good.
I don't know. I now that I've seen this a couple, like I followed it a little more watching it again for your show. I don't know. It made like a little more sense to me in like a plot sense. But every time I've watched it, I just have I don't mind saying like smoked a big old bowl and just kind of like sat back and relaxed and like
that's what it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, you know what shot I always think about too is the one. I can't remember exactly the setup for this, but like the secretary woman gets like shot, and then that guy that maybe has like a crush on her or something like walks in to find her dead on the floor, and the background is like stark white, but there's red that is just sort of starting to fall in the background that by the time Tetsu shows up has become fully and completely red, but Tetsu's presence there is what cleans the red and turns it back to white, which is a thing that happens again later in the movie, actually, I noticed watching it this time. There's a couple of times that when he shows up, the colors all shift to white. I don't really know what that means, but
it's like he shows up, he's like the savior.
Yeah,
like everything changes from color to like bright white light.
Yeah,
he like shows up in spotlight, like the weird musical theater play types vibes of like the lighting and stuff, like, and light changes for the mood was great too. Yeah, for some reason that shot in particular of the guy standing with a gun over that woman's body with the sort of half red half white background really speaks to me, and just like that image alone, I would like to buy a TV, like a 65-inch TV, get just like those 6 frames and have them put on a loop that is just always playing on my wall somewhere. You know what I mean?
So there are new, like Samsung has this idea for TVs where they're like, when your TV's not on, it's now an art piece, and like they just have like art that they've loaded in that, like when your screen is off, it's like, oh, it just looks like a painting on the wall. Like, do that, but with this. It's like, is this a movie? It's like, no, that's my art. It's just this one. I didn't know this job existed until you just said that, and I just invented it. I need to figure out how to be the guy that programs those TVs. Like, give me the keys, because I will make you the most beautiful television of like the just aesthetic movie scenes that are just playing in the background on your wall. And it'll be things like Death Spa. Like, it'll be things that you're like, I've never seen this, I will never know about this, but this beautiful, beautiful purple lighting as a man's head gets blown off needs to be on my wall. We mentioned him earlier, and I think this is a much more mainstream and less obscure reference than Death Spa, which is a great movie. Yes. And everybody should see Death Spa if they can. I remember when I saw The Neon Demon, the credits come on, and the credits to that movie are more beautiful than, like, almost any other movie I've ever seen. And I'm just like, how, like, it feels like a flex and a show off, and just like, okay, like, what are we watching? Oh, we're just watching the credits to the Neon Demon, because, like, it's that fucking beautiful. It's just, like, I don't, like, there's just some people who, like, I don't know where I fall on the continuum. Like, I kind of, like, definitely want more style than substance. Like, I remember talking to past guests of the show, Tobin Addington, like, he is so firmly entrenched in substance, and just, like, he will have, like, you know, that's all what he's about. But I'm like, I don't know, man, like Spring Breakers is another obvious one, but I'm just like, give me something that like is bathed in neon, and like give me like some kind of plot. I don't really care, but like if it looks cool, I'm gonna think it's cool, like generally. And then there's guys, you know, there's a whole like wave of like modern horror that like I'm drawn to their movie posters over and over again, and they're all letdowns. Like I don't remember the one guy's name, and I wouldn't blow up a spot, but like there's one director who like I hate every single movie he makes, but all of his posters look so goddamn cool, and it drives me crazy. I'm like, what? Like, it's my aesthetic, and I hate what you make, but, you know.
We got to talk after the show. I feel like I have a strong guess as to who it is, and I fully agree. we'll talk off air.
But I'm just like, fuck, like, it's all the most beautiful, but yeah.
So this is a thing where I feel like as a young film snob, I was very much like a substance person. Only, I don't know, recently, the last like 5-10 years or whatever, have I don't know, it's like, it's a visual medium. I've really grown to appreciate like telling your story through the visual part of the medium. I think I am growing more and more attracted to movies that are maybe more style than substance, but in my opinion, I think what I'm starting to reckon with is that the style is the substance in a lot of cases. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's like, you know, there's that the medium is the message, right? Like if you're making a movie that isn't like taking advantage of the fact that like it's a visual thing, like okay, but like why did it have to be a movie? Like, I know that's like a weird question.
Write a book,
Right, yeah. Why couldn't it have been a podcast, or why couldn't it have been a book, or why couldn't it have been like a radio play? Like if you're going to make me focus and look at a thing for 90 minutes or whatever, 88 minutes, let's call it 88 minutes, make it worth it.
I think there's room for all of this stuff, right? Like I do enjoy a good mumblecore movie on occasion, right? Like I can go for a much less style and maybe quite a bit more substance. I can go for that. I think there's room for all of these things. I just am starting to appreciate the style part of it a lot more and the way it can be used for substance. And I do think that ultimately, at the end of the day, like if you're putting in front of me, I don't even know what good examples would be, but a Nicholas Winding Refn movie and a mumblecore movie, like I'm probably going to watch the Refn movie, you know? Yeah. Even if I find it problematic, I think I'm still going to watch the Refn movie. You know what I mean? Like it just, I think that there's something there that David Lynch is maybe the actual prime example of this, of just like where the style itself becomes substance and then the substance subverts the style and vice versa. And like each of those things are deconstructing each other to the point that like story doesn't matter anymore, but it's all being conveyed in the visuals. Maybe that's the prime example of what we're kind of getting to as we're discussing this.
And then every once in a rare while, it's a movie that I've mentioned on here before, someone like Amy Seimetz comes along and makes She Dies Tomorrow, and it's like, oh, this is a mumblecore movie that looks like a Refn movie, kind of. And like Michelle Rodriguez is in it. It's like, oh, okay.
I quite liked that movie. My favorite part of that movie was that Adam Wingard showed up in that movie, who's a real favorite of mine.
I didn't know by having your picture everywhere be, you know, from the guest. But yeah, no, yeah, that's great. I love it. And
he's the four-wheeler guy in that movie.
Yes, yeah,
that's Adam Wingard. Yeah.
Joe, any other notes? Any other thoughts? Any fast connections? I have a couple minor fast connections. I didn't take a ton of notes on this, but any other thoughts about Tokyo Drifter before we play some games?
I really liked the false elevator for no reason.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite parts. I don't know why that existed or how that existed, but it did, and it was beautiful.
Tetsu is chasing these guys, and they get into this false elevator, and then he, like, pries the doors open and, like, runs in, but just, like, falls to the floor.
But yeah, they're just in front of him somehow.
So when I watched it the second time, it made a little more sense to me. What they have is, like, a plank. Okay, so there's a canyon, right, between the end of that doorway and where they're standing, and there's a plank that goes between that canyon that they run across and then pull up as the doors close, so that when he opens the doors, there is no floor where he just saw floor and he thinks he can run but just falls into the canyon. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it's totally Wile E. Coyote.
It's like a drawbridge and a moat.
Yes,
kind of,
yes.
But, like, you don't know that there's a moat there.
No, you have no idea. It's so funny.
And they look like they're in an elevator. And, like, the door is like an elevator, and they're standing like they're in an elevator, and he just, boop.
But by the way, in that thing, that's one of my fast connections, because when he falls down the elevator, it's not really an elevator shaft, but he falls down the elevator thing, Furious 7, too slow.
Too slow, yeah. Vehicle-wise, I think they do a good job. Trains boats.
59 Oldsmobile Super 88 Celebrity Sedan is like, I think they get the car. Like, that's kind of his car, right?
Is that the one that has the kind of like ska checkerboard on
Yes, very ska of it. Yes, I agree.
Straight up looks like a ska mobile. I love it.
Yeah, that. The driving on the water was very, again,
Yeah.
we know it's not in Fast and the Furious, but we always reference it. Like, it feels like driving in the LA aqueducts.
Mm-hmm.
The structure and, like, the style behind it, it felt like that. So I was, like, feeling very Fast and the Furious in the car, too.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even think about that Fast Connection, but that car sequence where, like, it's actually, like, a really weird sequence where, like, whoever he's driving thinks they're being driven by someone else. And then it turns out to be Tetsu, and then he just drives like a wild man to just kind of injure them in his back seat.
And that's it. Then it ends. The scene ends.
Yep.
There's no conclude. I had to I was like, Rachel, what did I'm like writing down like, oh, like, you know, driving through water part.
Yep.
And like I look up and they're in an arcade.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did I miss?
Nothing. There's like 3 different times in this movie where like it literally feels like there's a whole scene that he was just like, that was boring shit, and he just stops right in the middle of the scene, you know?
Yep, yeah, like when he like gets shot, and then they're like, he's like, I'll stay with you, and then he's outside, and he's like, damn it, he left. And it's like, how did we get there? Like,
this happens in all of his movies multiple times. I don't know if it's like, you know, Nakatsu is like, hey, your movies can't be more than 80 minutes, and so he has to make tough cuts, or if he's just like, whatever it was that was in the script that they obviously filmed and are just cutting away from, he was just like, yeah, whatever, boring shit, who cares, fuck it, like, it's gone.
That's what it feels like to me, like, that, he was just like, don't care about that part, just skip it.
Yep.
I could see him standing there with, like, with the script and just rip, like, 4 pages out and just, like, throw it. He's like, no, we don't need those. He's like, okay,
I
cool.
picture him as a guy that's, like, smoking a lot of cigarettes as he edits his movie, and is either intentionally or sometimes maybe accidentally just dropping cigarettes onto the film as he's cutting it, and just, like, losing whole scenes and, like, fuck it, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
You know what? I just realized we did not do our question every movie, and like, this is a nice way to like maybe end the discussion on it. But like, what's the pick for the coolest moment in the movie? Joe, do you have a pick for coolest moment in Tokyo Drifter?
Oh,
I mean, there's a lot of options here. It could be something we talked about or something we didn't talk about. Because I have one I think that we didn't talk about yet that I'm going to save. But pick for coolest moment.
I think that we have to go back to something that we talked about and that Garrett brought up at the end when they come on to like that stage set, and when he walks in, the spotlight just hits him.
Yeah.
Like if you could walk into a room and the spotlight hits you, that's fucking cool.
Yes.
Like I think that's my coolest moment.
Mine might be the you know, the red and white background thing that I was talking about earlier, but to use this as an opportunity to just bring another one up is like at some point early in the movie they keep trying to sell us on how he's like a great killer, but for like the first 20 minutes he is like actively trying not to kill anybody because they have like some kind of like peace treaty or whatever the fuck, right? Like his master retired or whatever. Yeah, they've gone good.
He's going good. They're trying to turn good. They're trying to revert. Like they're going clean.
Right. And so like everybody's talking about how good a killer he is, but he's not doing it. And then all of a sudden there's like this cut where we just flash to him on like a black background as if he's James Bond, just like firing a gun in a bunch of different positions. And the gun like has these, I don't know, these like, and it happens every time he uses the gun throughout the movie, these like red flashes. Like I've never really...
and that's the Criterion cover too, which is just like, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It's a really cool effect in the movie too, the way it's like edited together into the movie. It's just like a great, really weird, interesting sequence, and one of the weird style things about the movie, like I don't know even how they did that or why they did that, but every gun that fires has like a red kind of firework that goes off. It's cool.
Yeah, they're like flares or something.
Yeah.
You know, we've kind of danced around, no pun there. Like I thought, like there's dancing in this movie. They go to clubs and like whatever, but like we dance around what my cool moment is here. It's at the end again. He's got a gun held to him. They're like, toss your gun over here, and he does it in a way.
Oh my god!
Where he tosses the gun in the air.
He alley-oops himself,
runs and catches it,
yeah,
and shoots a guy with it. It's like
awesome.
That should never happen.
No,
like there's no way. There's no version of physics or time or reactions where he should be able to like throw it in the air, psych a guy out somehow, run and catch and use it. But I'm like, that's fucking cool.
This is what we talk about, like when we talk about with Wells, like how to end a movie. Like if somebody's like put your gun down and you threw it in the air, somebody would be like, bang bang, you're dead. There you go, cool. Like you didn't run to catch that. There's no way you're getting like you throw the gun in the air. I'd be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna shoot you now.
You know what I think is cool about that moment, and I don't know if you guys will agree with this, but it is a fully ridiculous moment that it's like the moment you see it, you're like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I, like, totally believe it in this, but there's something about the way it's edited. Yeah. It's edited, like, really fast. The way that he moves and psychs that guy out and then, like, runs to catch his gun. It, like, something about the editing makes it look like...
some frames or something.
Yeah, it looks, like, superhuman fast. And it makes you believe that, like, it does have... You know what I mean? Like, you, like, buy it, and then your brain is like, wait, but what? Like, it's like a second later that you're like, hold on, what the fuck? But, like, in the moment, you're like, this works. Like, I love stuff like that in movies where, like, you know, you are taking advantage of the medium to convince literally a person's brain that, like, something could happen that can't. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the
he's been
movie
feeding
magic.
Us this.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole movie, like, we see, like, the fake elevator shaft and everything we're talking about. Like, you're like, okay, like, that's not too far-fetched because we've gotten all these little tidbits of, like, goofiness throughout the movie already. So you're like, yeah, that works.
Yeah. I just think that's, like, a really impressive kind of, like, movie magic moment where you're just like, yeah, I'm in. I buy it.
I want to say, before we move to the games portion, I'm having such weird... It's not deja vu, but, like, I watched this movie last night, and then this morning, I watched Varsity Blues, which is the next episode we're going to record. It's a bonus episode on Patreon. TooFast2Forever.com. I think if you draw, like, if you, like, arrange movies by, like, type or genre or who it's for or whatever, like, it's hard to find movies that are less similar than Tokyo Drifter and Varsity Blues. And yet, 10 or 15 different things we've talked about, I'm like, oh, that happened in Varsity Blues. I can't explain why there's so much crossover, because the movies are wildly radically different in every way. Varsity Blues is the kind of movie that, like, you can pay 5% attention to and know everything about. And yet, I guess that's the same here. I guess that's a similarity. I don't know, whatever. But, like, it's crazy to me how many things we've talked about also kind of happen in Varsity Blues. So, like, I don't know, like, is this all a simulation? I don't know. It's weird.
Dude,
I'm excited.
We watched The Omen 3 for my podcast a couple weeks ago. Have you ever seen The Omen 3?
I saw, like, the new... That's not the new one that came out in, like, the early 2000s.
No, this is... So Sam Neill stars in this movie. You know, Sam Neill, my boy from Jurassic Park, Dr. Grant.
Of course, yeah.
Sam Neill stars in this movie as a young man. He's playing the son of Satan in the third Omen movie. It's a ridiculous movie. But the whole movie is, like, basically literally what's happening outside our windows. Like, it's like one of those movies where you're like... Hold on, what? This movie's actually about, like, a plague, and actually about, like, a businessman that becomes a politician, and actually about, like, you're just like, and I feel like I'm with you on the simulation thing. Anything I do lately, I'm just like, how does all of this relate to each other? Like, everything relates.
It's super weird, man. Just open your mind, right?
Yeah. We definitely live in a matrix, for sure.
Garrett, any other thoughts about Tokyo Drifter, or do you want to play a couple games?
Let's play a couple games. I had one more Fast Connection that I wanted to bring up that I sort of like loosely brought. But the idea of loyalty is like antithetical to the whole thing of Fast and Furious, right? Like this movie's idea that loyalty is what makes you vulnerable is like the opposite of what Fast and Furious functions on. Fast and Furious functions on the idea that loyalty to your family is what makes you superhuman, basically.
That's a very good point. I think that there's a hierarchy, right? Like he's being loyal to his boss,
right?
And I think in Fast and Furious, everybody's equal in their loyalty.
Oh, interesting. Yes, the because there's no clear. I mean, Dom is obviously the quote unquote leader of our group, but because there's no kind of like clear story, I don't think he would ever. He's not the kind of guy that would claim like, I'm the team leader of this group. You know, like I don't know. I don't think he would ever claim the title.
Yes.
And there's something different about that. There's something he allows everyone to feel like they're on equal footing with him.
Yeah, and the balance of that I think plays into this. Being loyal up is different than being loyal like along the lines of like your friends. Right?
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense. I buy what you're saying. Yeah, that these are about like different kinds of loyalty.
Yeah, although that they're both like loyalty, like it's different when you're an equal or you're like a subservient loyalty, right? So
you imagine that at the backyard barbecue that Tokyo Drifter doesn't end with, but could. They would not all sit around together and hold each other's hands, right? There would be someone at the head of the table and then people below them.
Yeah, because when he goes over to his house about the part that Joey brought up, he said it feels weird that you're serving me.
Yeah.
He asks like, do you like somebody else is like, do you want me to get him to clean up this cigarette? Like, there's clearly a structure there.
Yeah,
and it doesn't happen. Well, I mean, I guess me is the one doing the dishes, right? So that's bad. But there's like just her.
Yeah, Fast and Furious's hierarchy is the American hierarchy of men versus women.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
Sad
but true. All right, let us watch the Tokyo Drifter trailer on YouTube. Tokyo Drifter Trailer Oficial by Cinemex. This might be in Spanish, I don't know, but also the movie's not in English, so it doesn't matter.
Who cares?
So,
Yeah.
I don't think any of us have ever seen this. We were talking about it before
Nope.
we started recording. I don't know how you sell this movie in 2 minutes and 23 seconds, but we're about to find out.
I'm ready.
Ready whenever you are.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play. Train
Start.
yard, as Garrett mentioned.
Starts just like the movie starts.
Black and white, yep.
Okay. Oh, but we're at the end after he like got beat up.
Okay, so it's in Japanese with Spanish subtitles.
Yeah.
So funny.
Got it.
Yeah,
This is the
here's-
James Bond scene.
Yeah. Look at that red. The way I love the way that looks. Oh, this sunglasses guy. This feels like
Yes!
the Matrix.
Yeah. And the music is actually really good.
Oh, it's great.
by the
I
way.
hum this all the time. I love his blue suit.
Yeah.
Oh, the blue suit's going to come up in a thing we're doing later. I will mention the blue suit again, so don't you worry about that. We're not done with the blue suit yet.
Good, good.
I want to play this. I want to play this arcade game too. That's just a gun in a wall.
Yeah, there's the ska car.
Yeah.
And then we did see the red background. Like Garrett, this is basically like a greatest hits of like what you talked about with this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I realized it's like, I was like, hey, how do you sell this movie? And it's like, oh, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's got all these beautiful frames you can cut to.
Oh, also the train runs up on him and he's just fine. Like we don't see him roll away from the train. Nothing. He's just like, nope. He lived. He's good.
All fine. All fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like this does kind of feel like the movie, like not this one, but like it does kind of feel like the movie where like you watch a trailer, you're like this looks amazing, and then you go see it, you're like, oh, it was like 2 minutes of weirdness in like 90 minutes of boring, and like, but it's not that, you know what I mean? But
It's
like
not that. Yeah.
I've seen trailers like this where like, oh my god, this looks amazing. It's like, oh no, nothing, like none of the other parts of the movie were like that.
The
Right.
hanging donut
Oh, yeah.
here. I love it.
I know, and it's like it's red at one point, then it's yellow a little later. Like I like
Yep.
the way they use the lighting changes throughout this last scene.
Yep.
To your point, Joe, it's like I do think this movie actually does kind of fulfill the promise of like what you see here.
Yeah.
It actually is like truly like stunning frame after stunning frame the whole time.
Yeah. See?
And Joe, there's your orange gun.
Yeah.
Which like totally unimportant. No idea why it's orange there or what it matters that it's broken. I don't know.
Nope. Yeah.
No me hagas enfadar.
Yeah.
The trailers. This is one of the better trailers for a movie that like match the vibe, tone, and feel.
Right, that's evidence of how actually like consistent its own vibe and tone is as a movie, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many movies that are not good at that actually, where you can sell it because you've got 2 minutes, as you said, of like good stuff to sell it on, but that's all you have. This movie actually like has a consistent tone that runs throughout it. So it's like, yeah, you could pull any frame from it and you'd be able to sell it.
Okay, we're going to play the letterbox game. So, Garrett, I know that you were sort of on the parts that we play in the game are not things that I normally look at, but if you think you know the answer, just exempt yourself. We can have Joe guess, but if you don't know, please feel free to guess. But for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most popular films on Letterboxd, has been seen by 727,000 people.
Jesus Christ.
727. Tokyo Drifter from 1966, directed by Seijun Suzuki, starring Tetsuya Watari, Tetsuya playing Tetsuya Phoenix Tetsu Hondo, Chico Matsubara, and Tamio Kawachi, has been seen by how many people?
I literally don't know. I have actively like not paid attention to some of this so I could enjoy the game. So
Oh, good, cool.
Fury Road is 727? Is that what you said?
Yes.
1,000?
Yeah.
I will
yeah.
tell you that number will not help you here.
Right, I know. Well, I'm
But
trying
think.
to...
Okay, so Garrett, this is what I'm thinking. When,
Yeah.
while I'm doing the math here, I'm thinking it's in the Criterion
Yes.
collection.
And not only that, it's on the Criterion channel.
And it's also a very
Big.
early, like it's Spine 39. So this is
Yeah.
one of the first 40 films the Criterion added to its collection.
Yes. And it's like currently on the channel, so like just in the years that Letterboxd has existed, it's likely to have been seen by a lot more people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and you know the Letterboxd community, they love kind of like culty
Yeah,
Criterion
yeah.
type films.
I mean, like, would I be crazy to say that like 100,000 people saw this movie?
I think that's high. I'm going to go 35,000.
Okay.
You are both too high, though.
We're both too high.
Both too high. Below 35.
Whoa. I mean, is it like 20? Is it like that far below?
I was going to go 25.
I'm going to stop you right there. It is 20,100. Garrett, right on the second guess. 20,000.
Beautiful, Garrett.
100. Out of those 20,100, average rating of 3.8, most common a 4, then a 3.5, then a 3. This number actually went down 1, I think, since yesterday. So one person no longer has this in their top 4. But how many people out of those 20,100 have this in their top 4 favorite movies of all time?
I can tell you one who does currently. This guy, baby.
I was going to make the joke of, like, we're going to go to at Philadelphia, Garrett Smith on Letterboxd, but I don't think I could get Joe to guess any of the other 3 movies in your top 4, and we mentioned one of them multiple times on this episode. I don't think he would guess any of these. So
you're probably right. And to be fair, my top 4 is always just like whatever I've recently been just kind of falling in love with. It's usually not a reflection of my actual top.
But I'm glad you had this there because that's why you're here today. But out of those 20,000, including Garrett as one, so you know the number is at least 1.
Yeah.
How many have it in their top 4?
So Joe, what's your experience with this? Is it like, are we talking like if it's 20,000, is it 20 people? Like what's the ratio we're looking at with this?
I was gonna go for my first guess because think you have to love the movie enough to put it top 4, and even if it's like something you found recently, this is kind of an older movie. Yeah. Like modern movies usually stay in the top 4. It's a little, you skew it a little bit higher. Yeah. So I'm gonna go really. This is like super niche. I'm thinking like 6 is what my guess is gonna be.
All right, then I'll do 20. I'm giving 20. 20 is my guess.
You are both way too low.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So if you see this movie, you love this movie.
Yeah.
Is what we're getting at.
Okay. I'm gonna go 45.
I'm gonna edge him out. I'm gonna $1 you. 46.
Still both way too low.
God damn it. Give me 75.
70. Garrett, what'd you say?
75.
Both too low. One more guess.
Good
100.
God.
100 and call it.
200.
109. 109 people
way more than
have
I
this
thought.
In their top 4, including Garrett. So here we go.
That's a ton, dude. That's a lot for something like this.
I better be in good company.
So we found there. I was looking through, Joe, and there's a bunch of people that we have covered. Like a lot of these movies, a lot of the top 4, and a lot of these profiles. Like I probably looked at about 30 or 40 of them. Like a lot of them have Asian cinema, just of some kind, either like Japanese or some Korean. But like it feels like people who like this kind of movie like a lot of this kind of movie, right? Just like
it's so funny. One of my other ones is a movie called Tears of the Black Tiger, which is like an Indonesian movie. It's so
there you go, proving the not the exception that proves the rule that proves the rule. Whatever.
Thai movie, I think, actually. Just so that
we are going to go to Ben at Behamen, and he's got 2 reviews, and I wasn't sure who to pick, and then I read the reviews, and I was like, okay. So his first review from October of 2019, 4 stars.
Okay.
Tetsu. My sky blue suit and white loafers stay on during sex. Which I was like, yeah.
The white loafers are super dope. We didn't talk about those too. Just through the snow, fucking loafers.
Dude, the style in this movie, like people's actual like fashion, on point.
Yeah.
And then Ben's second review, 4.5 stars, later that same month, still mad, I'll never make a movie. This cool. So fits in perfectly with our lap. So Ben's top 4 movies, this is his number 2. His number 4 is a movie that I don't know how to get you to guess this. It's a movie we are going to. I don't know if you're going to remember the name of it or that we're doing this, but it's a movie. This is a spoiler for people who are listening. A movie we're going to cover this lap with the Fruity Films man himself. So what's a movie set in Japan about food that is well regarded?
Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
No, but that does fit all the criteria. Not a documentary, though, I don't think.
Is that movie, what is the Stephen Chow movie? Is it called like The God of Cookery or something like that?
No, but that movie rules. That movie is great.
Shit.
I've never seen that.
What movie set in Japan about food that we're going to cover with Kyle?
Garrett, you have not seen this according to your letterbox, but it is on your watch list. You do want to see this.
Is it fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3?
No, I did that with Mike the other week for his podcast.
Because that's a movie about pizza, by the way.
Where they go back to feudal Japan. Yes.
Boy, okay, so I want to see this movie. It's on my watch list.
According to your letterboxd.
Give me another hint.
It's from 1985. I don't know how to help you, Joe. Ken Watanabe is in this.
Oh, I do love Ken Watanabe.
Directed by Juzo Itami, who I've seen none of his things. Her things?
Yeah, me neither.
His things.
Wait, is this like God, what the heck?
The food is ramen. That's a big hint.
Oh, ramen is the thing. Huh.
Oh, this is Tampopo?
Tampopo!
Oh, I wouldn't have gotten it. Yeah, that's good.
But it's a movie that we're going to cover later this lap with Kyle. So, like, I don't know how to get you to guess it because I don't know what it's about other than ramen.
I know nothing about it either, except that I believe, there's the term spaghetti western. I believe it's referred to as a ramen western.
Love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So that's Ben's number 4. So his number 1 and his number 3 are still on the table. Number 1 is a movie that came out a couple years ago that I'm pretty sure we've had as a clue to guess in this game before. This is by a pair of... Actually, okay, here's a big hint for both of them.
What?
His number 1 and his number 3 are both made by brothers. Two brothers.
Okay.
Working together on a movie. Different sets of brothers.
Oh,
one,
interesting.
they're both still active, but one is much more recent, like new to the scene, and one set has been around for a while.
Is one set of them potentially like retiring, like they're breaking off currently and starting to do work on their own?
I don't know, maybe.
Is one of them Good Time? Are we talking a softie movie here?
You are Wright Brothers, wrong movie.
Oh, Uncut Gems?
There you go. Number 1.
Oh,
Uncut
good one.
Gems.
Damn, you got there real quick. I like that too. Okay, cool.
We've had that before. We've had, I think, Good Time and Uncut Gems both in here. But the other one, who are the most famous brother filmmakers of all time?
I mean,
Coen Brothers.
There you go.
That's my guess. Yeah, and I think they are currently like potentially not continuing their.
Are they on the outs?
They're not on the outs, but I think the next Coen movie we're gonna get is an exclusively Joel Coen movie. I think.
Interesting.
What's arguably their most famous movie?
I mean, Fargo? Is it just Fargo?
Fargo number 3.
People love Fargo in this game.
People do love Fargo.
They love Fargo in this game.
Uncut Gems, Tokyo Drifter, Fargo, Tampopo.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting combo of movies.
You have to, boy, do we have a podcast for you, them, if they have 2 movies this lap.
I know, and all Ben has been watching this year, it seems like, are other movies by the guy who made Tampopo, and also Promising Young Woman, which he gave 3.5 stars to, which feels a little low, considering it's my favorite movie of the year, but Ben, I will let it slide.
Ooh, I like that movie a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Rachel was just pointing that out today. She was saying we were like looking at movies and we saw that one, and I mentioned that Joey was talking about how much he loved it. 2 recommendations from both you guys. I'll take it.
Oh yeah, that movie is killer. It's it's got this fucking killer needle drop of a Britney Spears song that you definitely know. But it's it's whatever. What do the kids say? It's chopped and screwed. It's like it is so slow and it's great.
I love chopped and screwed remixes.
That version, but not chopped and screwed, is also used in David Ehrlich's year-end video countdown.
Okay, gotcha.
That scores 3 movies, and seeing people dance to it from Taylor Swift's Miss Americana is great, and then from the movie Another Round with Mads Mikkelsen is great, and then seeing I don't know if it's pronounced Emma or Emma, that Spanish language crazy great movie that came out last year, all 3 of them dancing to that song. I'm like, this is masterpiece. You've done it again, David Ehrlich.
I love his end-of-year videos. They're the best.
Joey loves them. He's a huge advocate for them.
It's great. What I love about them is a lot of times it's like stuff I've not even seen in them, but he makes me want to see it by putting it in there the way he puts it in there. You know what I mean? Or sometimes it's even stuff that I'm like, oh, I didn't even like that much, but its presentation here in this way makes me appreciate that. Like, oh yeah, that was one of this year's movies, and that's like a thing. That's like important in its own way, it adds to the flavor of everything else that this weird movie came out this year.
I just love the work that he does, but also like he and I have very similar tastes, but I've learned that he loves like period dramas a lot more than I do. So like sometimes, like, I don't know, he had a movie Sunset Song a couple years ago and I'm like, I don't love this movie, but like I get why you love it, but like it's not for me. Like other than that, like he loves like dancing and stuff in movies. I'm like, yeah, me too. Style over substance, baby. Give me that. But Garrett, thank you so much for joining us for Tokyo Drifter. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, pleasure. Brother. I really am so happy that you guys gave me an opportunity to just gush about this movie for a while. This was a delight.
And like you said when I first messaged you, I mean, not that you weren't already, but now you are once again truly family.
Yes, yeah. Please have me back. I mean, I would love to talk more Fast and Furious with you guys. I'd love to talk whatever you want to talk about. I have to, before we stop recording, this is a thing I need to address, because I've become a fan of the Joes. I've been listening to this podcast a lot recently. This was a few episodes ago. I don't remember which one, but Joe 2 said something that just broke my goddamn heart. At some point, you referenced, when you make a character in a video game, do you literally name him Joe 2?
Yeah, I think I would name him Joe 2. I use it in a lot of things now. Why?
That is wild to me, man. That is a character in a video game. That's your wildest dreams. Your wildest dreams, you're still Joe 2? You can't be Joe 1? Even in a video game, you can't be Joe 1? You're Joe 2?
I have this conversation a lot, and evolves in different ways. But one of the things that I always say is that, like, I have a very hard time perceiving things from another thing. So, like, I can pretend like I was, like, a rich guy, but, like, in my head, I would still have my same brain. Like, I never, like, imagine that I'm somebody different at the core. Like, I can put myself in a different place, but, like, my soul and, like, what I know and my, you know, all that stuff stays the same. I can never, like, put myself in a different brain. It's really weird.
I understand. I fully understand. You referenced having a video game character named Joe 2, and I was like, you can't even be Joe 1 in the video game?
I like it. I really, like, it just stuck, and, like, hey, man, it works now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, you always be number 2. There's somebody always better, Garrett. Like, you'll never be number 1.
I understand this feeling. I live this feeling.
Yeah.
Recently, when Brian was promoting, when we did the crossover with Better Luck Tomorrow on his show, like, he's like, yeah, we got the guys from Too Fast, Too Forever. We got Joe 2 and Joey Lewandowski. And I messaged him, like, I don't even get top billing. Like, we joked about how, like, I'm like an enemy on his show.
I love that.
And he said to me, his name is Joe 2. I figure he doesn't usually get top billing. And I was like, all right, that's fair.
Yeah, I love that.
This is somewhat self-imposed, because this goes back to our very first episode of Zack Attack, where you were like, I don't want to say my last name. I'm Joe 2. And, like, I was like, I don't know how to write that. I'm like, is it TWO or TOO?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you said TWO or just, like, whatever you
No,
want.
I was like,
whatever.
I didn't even think about it being TWO, but I really like that. Like, let's go with that.
Yeah.
And then,
There you go.
I'll take it. I like it. I mean, all of my video game characters are named Dr. Venkman, so even in my wildest dreams, I'm just a fictional character, like a specific fictional character.
Yeah, exactly. You're not, like, changing it up every time, right?
Yeah.
There was a pipe dream, and pipe dream is a very strong phrase, what I'm about to say, but, like, Joe had this idea, joe2.com is available, and he wanted to just have it and, like, map his email, so his email is joe@joe2.com or something. It's just like, oh, like, that's such a weird, like, hyper-specific... But
I tried to get Joe 2 on Twitter, but, like, this person's been camping on the thing. It's, like, 15 years old and, like, no tweets, dead account that this person just camped on that I don't know why. And I'm like, damn.
See, here's the thing you're missing, though. If you're already naming your video game characters Joe 2, if you're going to go the whole route of getting joe2.com just to get the email address out of it, your email address has to be joe2@joe2.com, so that anytime you send an email, everybody's like, well, who the fuck is Joe1@joe2.com? Like, how did this guy not even get Joe1 on his own goddamn website?
It's perfect. Thank you for that. Yeah, I like the mystery of who Joe 1 is, because it's not Joey.
No, of course not. That's the other thing. It's like, who are you even playing second fiddle to? That's all right. It's just that's been crawling around in the back of my brain for like a month.
I loved it. Thank you for the tangent. It was great.
Garrett, what would you like to plug? Where can people find you? Where do you want to send people? What is going on in the life of Garrett Smith, this John over here?
I have a podcast called I Like to Movie. People can check that out just all over the internet at I Like to Movie, using the numeric 2. And I'm writing for Moviejawn these days. We have a print zine as well as a website, and I actually have an article about Death Spa coming out in the latest print issue. I have a podcast that I've been working on with my partner that is not quite available yet, but you can look it up everywhere. It's Killer Bees Podcast, at Killer Bees, and that's just...
Is it about Wu-Tang?
BS. No, dude, it's about B-movie actors. We're profiling B-movie stars, which is a lot of fun. I'm really excited. But we couldn't figure out a title for a while, and my partner's dad was like, how about Killer Bees? And I was like, listen here, you 60-year-old man. Are you making a Wu-Tang reference at me? What are we talking about? And he was not. He was making an SNL reference to a sketch that I am too young to remember. So,
he predated you.
Only I know it as a Wu-Tang. I'm on a podcast called Killer Bees, and I'm the only one on it that even knows it's a Wu-Tang reference. It's very frustrating already.
I would be dropping RZA quotes in all the time.
You better believe I am constantly making Wu-Tang references to a co-host that has no idea what I'm talking about.
It's trust me, I can feel that frustration.
What?
I always make jokes that you don't laugh at. I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah, because they're not funny. There's a difference.
Or Seinfeld references, but you'll get those eventually.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, how you doing on that? How's that project?
I've seen season 1. Season 2 begins in a couple days. I'm in the middle of Simpsons season 2. It's happening. It's all happening.
That's good. That's good. Seinfeld has the typical sitcom structure of season 2 as a big improvement over season 1.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, and that's the same thing that all these like Simpsons psychopaths say about the show. I was enjoying season 1, but season 2 is better, and season 3 is better, and don't watch after 9 unless you're a goddamn idiot. Okay, fine, sure. Next week, Joe, as expected, of course. We are going to be joined once again by Heather Antos to talk about Fast and Furious and also Los Bandoleros, directed by Mr. Vin Diesel.
Wait, he directed that?
He did.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Okay, I have to go watch something immediately as soon as we finish this.
It's the best Letty that Letty's ever been. It's the best Letty.
Have you ever seen it?
I haven't, and I believe it's on one of the Blu-rays that I own, so I should.
It's really enjoyable for what it is, man. It's like a short film. It's really cool. It doesn't really affect the story too much, but like I think you'll like it. And Vin Diesel directed it. It's like his. Yeah.
I am gonna go watch it for exactly that reason as soon as we finish this.
Cool.
Do that thing. Thank you for joining us for
Always.
all things Too Fast, Too Forever, all things Killer Bees. You're going to cageclub.me, facebook.com/Too Fast, Too Forever, or at Too Fast, Too Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page. Bonus episodes, toofasttooforever.com. Our store, things on sale now, ? toofasttooforever.shop. Come back next week for Fast and Furious and Los Bandoleros with Heather Antos. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Garrett Smith of I Like to Movie and Moviejawn, and we'll tell you all about it
When we see you again.